Welcome everybody. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Hopefully you enjoyed that intro, and welcome everybody to another day of hopefully some volatility on the stock markets. Obviously, we saw a big increase yesterday. I'll just say a couple of shout outs here. Hello Shane, hello Dutch, hello Logan, Faye, good to see you. Giggles, always good to see you again. Tyone, Usen Vision, good to see you here as well from Monday's stream. Troy Moo, big shout out to you as well. I know who you are. Taka Kevin, hello. And Siddharth, and I think I've already said Mark as well. All right, so we've got quite a lot to cover today in the pre-market. We obviously had big moves headed by the FANG. Anyone that's watched my most recent video would know, of course, that was what was really spearheading it. No surprises there. Interesting still, healthcare remains kind of that neutralized, I guess, sector in the market. And surprisingly, we had footwear doing well yesterday, which is out of nowhere. So footwear was the thing yesterday. Nike up 8.76%. And overall, really just a whole bunch of sectors still getting beaten down across the board. I actually loaded up on TradingView just to show you here, once it loads up, a bit of a synopsis of current sectors. And you can see here in terms of monthly down, let's have a look at 3 months performance now of the sectors and just load that. And basically we're still seeing energy minerals being incredibly weak, communications, industrial services, and then of course finance is now really leading a lot of decline as well. So poor Warren Buffett and Bank of America and his other holdings not doing so well. So as Joseph says, DXY has been the story. It certainly has been. Basically DXY US dollar index is bulling, and it is bulling pretty hard. Cracked that 94 zone and then became incredibly strong. So we'll load that up and we'll do that right now. And then we'll have a look at the broader markets. So yeah, here's our US dollar index analysis. Basically, you can also look at this as a bit of an inverse head and shoulders if you wanted to. I've said this quite a few times, but the thing with inverse head and shoulders is you always want the right shoulder to be smaller than the left shoulder. Always remember that with TA, right shoulder smaller than left shoulder. Why is this? If the right shoulder is smaller, it shows intent of the market and momentum. Now, I really think of this more as a structure point, as basically a channel, and the break of the channel being when it got above that 50 exponential moving average. A lot of people ask me, when do you get a trigger? What are you looking for? Well, to me, as soon as we close above that, I'll have definitely a nibble on the position. And then when it moves up to the next day, as in it cracks to a new high here and it gets above that last wick, I'll take another position, and then I would wait for conservative entry after that point, where basically the market pulls back, finds resistance at these points, and then acts as support. So that's a little bit of a top tip. The way you want to do it is scale into your orders. That's what all the big guys do. Every single big investor I've ever met scales into their orders. They don't just go, I'm going to buy $100 billion of this stock. Well, sometimes they do, but generally they'll buy, little snippets over time at prices they like. Shane says stock pickers market, which I like. Absolutely, at the moment it is. Got a nice audience coming in here, so thank you very much. Strawberry Fields Forever, hello, how are you? And Marlene, good to see you as well. Nice of you to say that everyone should be making profit today, Usen Vision. Let's hope so. So, look, it looks like US dollar index strength could be a continuation thing for a little while here. I don't suspect, though, that it will continue going up super into like 95, 96 without some form of pullback. Whenever we have some market going so far away from moving averages, that's usually the big problem. So US dollar index, here we have the 4-hour, still pretty far away from the 20 moving average. At some time, it will pull back and want to test that zone. Every time it gets too far away, it has a bit of a point where it basically takes a break. Now, is that going to be based on indicators? Do you want to short it down to this level? You don't really. What you want to be doing is picking up positions along the way on the bigger plan to the 95 and the 96. Congrats on 20K. Well, thank you very much if we have hit 20K. Let's see. If we did, we did. Thank you very much, everybody. We hit 20K just then. So massive shout out to everyone. We've obviously grown incredibly fast this year, and that's thanks to everybody's support out there. And we will be doing that prize. We'll do the giveaway on Monday's live bell stream. just because we only hit 20K then. So I'll get all of that planned, and the festivities for the 20K will be on Monday. Hey, Dr. Horton, good to see you here. All right, let's have a look around at the markets in terms of what's happening on the futures. So we've got a whole bunch of things going on. We'll check out those futures. So VIX up a little bit. It's kind of testing that high. We'll look at the TA on the VIX soon. US dollar index, of course, being strong. Gold and silver getting really pummeled. Silver in particular getting beaten down even more than I thought it would be. I did say on the Monday stream, I think, that I said silver really has no support, and that's the problem for it after it got through that zone and it's continued to be incredibly weak. I think long-term bullish silver is still a good play. It is a demanded metal for infrastructure builds and those types of things, so I'm still a bit of a silver bull. Obviously, copper coming under pressure, that's right at support. We'll talk about that. And coming into pre-market, really seeing mostly where we closed off yesterday. A little bit of weakness in the Nasdaq still, weakness in the S&P. But the interesting thing is because the S&P came down, hit the 3220, 3230 zone, and then bounced all the way back up to the channel, that's starting to get me to think that 3200 may not even hold this level if it keeps going down. What's the next target on the S&P 500? We'll definitely check that out. Houston Vision with 40. What is this currency? I should know this. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. You can tell me what that currency symbol is. I don't recognize it for some reason. And I certainly should. Thank you very much for that, mate. That'll go towards some coffees for sure. And I do have coffees here ready for tonight. I'm ready to go for quite a while. All right, let's look at these markets. I know everyone here wants to look at US 100 and, of course, S&P 500. So we'll check those out. And then we'll make another check before pre-market open. And also a reminder, we have, of course, a bit of news out tonight as well. Devastator says, check out that daily trend line on silver hit. Do you think it will hold? I will have a look at silver more. It's 54 US cents, Siddharth says. Well, that's not going to buy me a coffee, but it'll go part of the way. Thanks, mate. All right, so we've got here the US 100. So obviously coming into market open right on the lows. Now we've talked quite a few times about where's the next market structure. If you're new to this channel, if you're just coming in, where do we expect it to go next? Well, we expect it to go previous lows, which is that 10.4. We've expected that ever since we started to see the channel and we saw that channel break out initially. And why is that? Because, of course, we have this big range, really good market structure, and usually it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we do really expect weakness either tonight or tomorrow into the point of market moving back down to this level. That's the range. So the range of the structure, push into the next zone. And then, of course, we go over to the weekly. We've thought about this quite a lot. We did have a weekly 20 right there. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits the 20, goes a little bit under it, overshoots, and goes to the structure. After that point, though, then you've got to start using fib pullbacks because there's not much real chance that you have to say exactly how far this market should come back. Usually a good rule of thumb, 38.2 fib. We talk about it all the time, 38.2 fib to 50 fib of the whole move. And in this case, you will take the whole move because the Nasdaq moves so aggressively throughout this bullish run. So my thought process is probably either just to the 38.2, which is where that market structure was, or in this zone somewhere here, we should find support pressure. If you don't want to buy just the dip and you don't want to just average down and use dollar cost averaging, then another way that you can do things is, of course, you can wait for the market to come down, make a high, make a higher low, and then make a new peak. So effectively, you've got your trough, you've got your peak, you've got your higher trough, and then you've got your higher peak. And you can wait for that maybe on a 4 hour and then swing trade it up. No worries with that either. Houston Vision says he gave me a sip of coffee. Thanks, mate. That's, yeah, Nescafe Blend 40 or whatever that. I haven't drunk that in a while. Oh, it's Indian rupee, is it? Oh, there you go. I don't get it. Fed is trying to raise inflation, but how's the DXY going in the opposite way? People do not believe that the Fed is being able to achieve its goals. And also, it's like a thing where it doesn't just usually fall off a cliff. When you least expect something to happen, it often happens, even if the fundamentals and everything say the opposite. That's the way a lot of these things do work, unfortunately. I've always found with fundamentals, I usually look at a company, I look at its cash flow, I look at general balance sheets, general health. Cash flow is obviously one of the most important, what it's trying to do, whether it's making good purchases, those kind of things. And I ignore some of the other stuff that people look at all the time. As an investor, should I wait to 10,300 to buy? As an investor, you should always be buying portions at times that you like. So like say, I always quote Buffett, but you can quote any main investor will purchase on the way down, and they'll purchase stocks that they like or indexes that they like at certain points. And they'll say, okay, I'm going to purchase the percentage here. I'm going to purchase the percentage here. It's effectively dollar cost averaging in. And then they'll be mostly positioned in. They might be like 80% in, 20% in bonds. And then what they use is they use the bonds to position in at superior key points, similar to what we saw during the crisis period. So let's load up US 500 now, have a talk about that coming into the market. So US 500 showing further weakness. It's hitting this 20 again, the 20 weekly, straight into the market open. We're sitting at 0.35 down. During the Asian session, we had a little bit of a kick up, followed by, of course, a rejection of that. Really, we're only 20 points off the 3200, which is our first major point that we thought Wall Street would be buying up at. Has me a little bit interested. It definitely has me thinking about whether the market is going to go lower. You would think that this is where it stops, but sentiment's starting to turn pretty bad, as in there's a whole bunch of news coming out. People are suddenly worrying about that. I'm not worried over the long term. I think there's really good long-term buying opportunities in the US market appearing right now. Up here, I thought there was nothing, obviously. I talked about that quite a lot. Even here, I didn't really like it, but I certainly do like it here for the long term. Of the fib of the whole move, we're not even near the 38.2 yet. The 38.2 is around that 3,000 zone. So really, if we're getting a healthy pullback in the market, we expect it to come back here. It just shows you how overextended it was. And to bring up that point, let's have a quick look at some things. Let's go to the Federal Reserve balance sheet currently and what's going on. So the actual balance sheet has been increasing quite steadily over the last couple of months. In particular, they really ramped up a little bit here from September 8th to September 15th. Assets went up another 50 billion. We go over to also what a few people are saying. Obviously, we're now getting the articles that are super bearish, which is usually one of those signs. When the media starts spamming stuff, we don't want to trust them. Never trust the media. I'm sure we all believe that. A whole bunch of questions coming in here. Do definitely keep asking them. Hi, Tom. What's your take on gold in like a year? Bullish generally on gold. I think the big problem is I'm bullish on gold, but then you have to hedge it off against different currencies in the world. So you have to consider, well, how's gold going to go versus US dollar versus everything else? I think ultimately US dollar will decrease. If we make a new lower low, get ready, folks, going to be ugly. Agreed, Jacob. New lower low will certainly trigger quite a lot of selling pressure. You would expect some algorithmic trades to come in as well. Think FANG stocks are just having a breather before they bull up. Travels with Giggles says. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think that long term, we've accelerated the cycles here. We've accelerated the movement away from some brick and mortar kind of positions and then into, of course, technology. We talked about that quite a lot. So pre-market here, we're actually above previous closes. Look at this. The VIX is sitting at a 29.6 pre-market here on the CBOE contract. Pretty strong. VIX could be set to spike. Obviously, a new low. Expect VIX to spike up, at least hit the 31.2. We've talked about this a little bit on the channel and the YouTube videos. 35, certainly a target zone for the VIX. This would be the first time as well, if that did happen, the VIX actually went back to the previous spike zone. So when we had the flash crash over in June, we know flash crashes like that, just a bit of statistical knowledge. Whenever you have a market that drops about 5% in a day, the next day is historically 80% positive. Doesn't mean it's positive 5%, but it's 80% chance it's positive the next day. Really counterintuitive to what you often think. So we did not have, though, the VIX spike back up and test the previous highs. Right now, we're at that precipice. Do we hit today? The reason I'm streaming today is I'm very interested to see the first hour of trade today. I really am. So VIX looking relatively bullish here. Obviously, a lot of people will also know whenever you get a shooting star candle or pin bar, whatever you want to call this, if the VIX spikes above that, I expect an explosive VIX. This is usually a very bearish candle. So if you get a bearish candle and it closes above or even just wicks above that point and keeps going, it's often explosive. And that will be signaling, of course, new lows on both the Dow, the S&P, and of course, the Nasdaq. Bruce says, cheers from Colorado. Thank you very much, Bruce. Cheers from Melbourne, Australia. Siddharth says, Shane, more subs means more riffraff. No. It's good to have more people in the room. The more people we have in the community, the better it is. I'm not just saying that because, I prefer to have more people. It's actually true. It's good to have lots of people's opinions. Do you ever look at CBOE Apple VIX as sentiment and volatility indicator, says Suj? I don't really, but it's a good point. We should definitely cover that one time. Let's go to copper now. Talk about copper. Obviously, one of the things that I call Dr. Copper. I've probably converted a few people to looking at these particular side metals. A lot of conventional wisdom is, a lot of people don't know that looking at certain metals, especially during, and I'll stress this, only during economic recessions is worthwhile. Copper is actually useless most of the time. It's useful in a recession and out of a recession for about 2 to 3 years. Completely useless the rest of the time. Why is that? Because copper is heavily demanded in what traditionally governments have done, which is rebuilding economies. So right now, copper right on the perfect point of retest up. We see copper break down below this 50. I'd expect further selling of copper into 2.8. Previous resistances all the way across here. We know that's big for roll reversal. We've got, of course, 50 touch, both respected. 50 touch will we respect. We closed below, pretty bearish on copper. Obviously, silver has already precursored a super bearish move in terms of, maybe demand for the metal overall. Sefa says, congrats on the 20K. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, we've done well. Market getting clapped today. We'll have to see whether it gets a new low or not. Bruce says, Joseph, not a very big relationship. DXY up or VIX up normally can indicate market down. Yeah. Generally speaking, if you have VIX up, VIX is fairly correlated with the market. And of course, DXY or US dollar index is relatively correlated. Ever since the Fed and the GFC, though, the global financial crisis in 2008, the US dollar has not been as correlated as once was. VIX absolutely represents hedging. So if you actually looked up what is the VIX, just you can load it in Google and you can read pretty much anything. So let's say we read Investopedia. Basically, of course, they call it fear index, fear gauge. Really, the most important bit is here. So the index representing the market's expectations for volatility over the coming 30 days. And then, of course, the idea that it's based on a variety of options and exchange traded products used to price the derivative. So realistically, if heaps of people are buying puts, it often expands the VIX. The VIX goes up. So I've been trying to figure out what's going to happen on silver. And I thought I'd share my kind of thought process behind this. So basically, we've got, of course, a very big blow-off that happened. We know blow-offs. I've talked about it heaps of times. Definitely watch some of the previous streams if you're new here. Blow-offs are a super cool concept to understand because when you get like a 20% sell-off in a week or a couple of days, often that's the beginning. After a euphoric move, it usually signals further weakness, a new low, and at least a ton of kind of sitting there doing nothing for a period of time. When that happens, you don't really want to be in that trade position. We can see here what happened with silver. So silver's come down to, of course, the 20 weekly. I never really expected that to hold. I've got monthly pivots here as well. So monthly S1 didn't get respected at all, just got completely balloted. We're now back between that 38.2 and 50 fib. So remember, of the move from March all the way to now, we're really only retracing 38.2%. Remember what a fib really means. It's just like 38.2% of whatever this size move is. So we're not far back. Now, in this area, I expect silver to find some form of support. Some people were mentioning before there might be some trend line that goes through here. I assume that's what you were talking about before, drawing from the lows through. I think it's fair. This one, a lot of people would know I'm not a fan of trend lines. The reason why is they're too subjective. I never use them just by themselves. Now, I know a lot of people have been talking about like a giant megaphone pattern on the S&P and things. It certainly hit the top end. The top end was very valid because of the amount of touches. But this one here, I would not use just the trend line. I would be using psychological numbers. Usually I'd use market structure. But the problem with silver is, where's the market structure recently? Well, it's all so low. The silver blowout was huge. I mean, it closed so high. So we could have the market actually coming back down to S2. If it comes to an S2, where's that? About 2050-ish zone. Does make some sense to find psychological support around there as well. But yeah, silver's a tough one. To know, you'd really just be dollar cost averaging into this if you're interested in getting into silver. Indian markets down 3%. Yeah, like most markets are down at the moment. Go over to the futures again, just refresh this chart. So still overall, a whole bunch of negatives in a whole bunch of things. The markets were relatively slow though in the Asian session. They need, of course, to see more. Roman says, you fan of Elliott wave analysis. I find Elliott, I'll give you my opinion on it. I find Elliott wave analysis way too subjective to trade. It's good to give you sentiment. I'll say that. So if you have like, Elliott wave and wave, a wave process, and you're basically saying, okay, this is wave 3, etc., and you're feeling good about it because you can hold it over the longer term, it gives you really good ability to then say, okay, I feel confident in holding my trade. But I find it very difficult to trade with big money. I actually wondered this, Bruce, if that was if Johnny Bravo was the other one. Johnny Bravo, I think, is like a YouTube channel, yeah. All right, so back onto this one just quickly. I want to look at these 3-month preferences and 6 months. So these are all the sectors in the market. So let's have a look at the monthly moves. So energy sector, obviously most hit. Industrial sector also pretty well hit. I still expect industrial sector to do quite well over the long term. Electronic, or at least over the next couple of years, electronic technology, communications, they all got kind of beaten down. And the ones that were not getting hit were transportation, health tech, consumer services, and those kind of sectors. And you can see they're also some of the sectors that have done very well over the 6-month performance and even are up on, of course, year to date. A lot of the things I'm looking at is like over a 12-month period, how well have things done? See if there's any value in other areas. I still maintain, I think finance might have a good trade on it in the next couple of months. However, I'm very scared of buying finance over years. I think it's very difficult. Star says Tom needs Johnny Bravo chair that elevates. Ditch the Herman Miller. No, man, I'm not ever ditching the Herman Miller. Herman Miller chairs, good trading chairs. Too comfy, man. Too comfy. All right, let's have a look around the markets. Tesla, of course, big story. Buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. And it's certainly getting belted off quite a lot. Apple, big sentiment trade in the market. Trading actually at 105.64. This is surprising. So pre-market, we're looking at 105.64 now for Apple, when before it was trading almost flat. So only down 0.5 before, now 105.64. Let's have a look at Tesla. We'll do further analysis on Apple on the open for sure. Remember, send through your questions, send through anything else. If I get to it, I'll definitely try to answer as much as possible. We will look at gold, yes. Zoom be making constant 52-week highs during next correction. Zoom's going to have a blow-off. Zoom is a stupid. It's actually, what I have up before, I had Webull up. And one of the most traded stocks, Zoom. I've actually got Webull over here. I'm just loading up some things that I want to test with it. I was thinking about using it a little bit for some analysis on the stream. So Tesla looking at a 367 handle opening. That's pretty bearish right now, 367. As I mentioned this today, we've got a monthly S1 sitting at the 350 area, but we're still super far away from that weekly 20. We scroll through, there could be a super sell-off here. It basically had a blow-off effect. Now that it's by the rumor, sell the news, the sentiment could drive even more people to either get margined out of Tesla calls. I'm sure there were heaps of Tesla calls ahead of the event. Sep says, I shorted Zoom. Dude, haha. Oh, I hope you do all right there, man. I'm finding it difficult to short against a lot of these markets unless you're using options, and obviously you're just basically saying the trade's done and potentially get rid of it. Amazon, yeah, another one we'll look at for sure. All right, let's load up Amazon. We'll load up gold as well coming in. We've got 3 minutes. Do we have a release result? I believe we do. Not that it probably makes too much. Oh, it may make some difference. So we've got unemployment claims coming out in 3 minutes. Only 3 minutes till unemployment claims. Expectation is, of course, pretty much in line with the last couple of weeks here. We've got an 860 expectation? Oh, previous 860. So 845. It's been mostly a fizzer recently. Obviously, if the number's too different, that'll be pretty big. We've got Fed Chair Powell coming out 12 and doing another testify. And then, of course, we've also got Treasury Mnuchin. Let's see what happens there. Giggles, here's a lesson I think everybody can get help from. So he said, I learned the hard way with the blow off, or blow up in this case, was 800% in profit on a penny stock, ignored the initial sell-off, and now just on double digits, I guess, rookie mistake. Look, the thing with penny stocks is, yes, you can make huge amounts of money, but you never go broke taking a profit, yeah? But the problem is there's this thing that always happens with penny stocks. You might buy an IPO. Good case in Australia would be Afterpay. So you buy Afterpay and you think, okay, it's tripled or quadded, and you take your profit. And then you hear about someone saying, oh, I held Afterpay till $80 and I made, I don't know, 7,000% or whatever. That is the problem you'll end up having. Always be happy and always think there is another opportunity somewhere else. I always remember that lesson. There is always another opportunity. And there really is. Look how many opportunities there've been in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of months. Always another one. Am I on the wrong day? Oh, yeah, I am on the wrong day. No, it should be right here. This is right. Thursday night, 10:30. It is Thursday, yeah. I'm in lockdown, but it is Thursday. Few people coming in with blowing up accounts on penny stocks. Best lesson learnt, as long as you remember the lesson. Bro, trailing stop losses. Yep, trailing stop losses are fine. Trail them with using moving averages, okay? Best way of doing it. Don't trail them just with dollars and stuff. I mean, you could probably trade a penny stock behind really key psychological numbers because they will trade psychological numbers, but generally moving averages are good as well. Zoom's getting destroyed pre-market. Let's have a look here. Let me just load up my pre-market slaughterings and I'll bring them onto the screen. Yeah, Zoom's down 2.6%. So we've got this little weeble here. Thought it'd be a good one to show. Zoom down 2.5% pre-market. Tesla now beating it though at a 368, 3.18 down. So we've got that. Datadog down as well. Saw Logitech before. Cloudflare, a few others. Apple, obviously, surprisingly up there now and almost the top 10 down for the day. JD, etc. Jobless claims are out, 870. Okay, so let's load that up. Remember, if you don't have an economic calendar, one of the good free ones is forexfactory.com. So this is actually not good. It's not a good number. Let's go around to the markets here. I mean, I know it doesn't look like that much, but every piece of negative catalyst could act now, because people have lost faith a little bit in the Fed. They're losing faith in the Fed being able to hold it. Look at this. I mean, the Fed's basically going out and saying, please give us more fiscal policy. Please, government. Congress, we need it. We need it. We need it. That's not good. So here we are, 32, under 32.20 now, 32.19. Well, maybe we did make a good decision to do some streaming today. Pre-market now, things moving even more. We've got Logitech further moving down. Apple now 1.75 down. Let's bring this back over here. Got quite a few things moving. Overall, though, that's pretty brutal. We'll bring that on a little bit later. So let's go through a few pairs and talk about some of the key technicals that we've been seeing. So we'll check out Amazon as well. We'll obviously go back to the markets before the pre-market, but let's have a look at Amazon. And then we'll go gold. So Amazon is found support at the 2900 a few times. Now we're looking at 2972 pre-market down 0.1. And if we go to, down 0.1, sorry. And if we go over here, you'll see why this has been such a key critical level. Support, support, support again, bounce, touches the two moving averages. Really good point here. Whenever you're using moving averages, use the 20 exponential and the 50 exponential. That's the red and the blue ones here. We really, really like these moving averages. One of the reasons we love the 20 so much is think about a trading month. How many days are in a trading month? Around 20, yeah? If we think about that, we think about human psychology, the way that we break things down into months and years and 6 months and quarters. That'll make a sense why the 20 is so heavily used. But we found resistance here. Now, why is that? Previous market structure, obviously the indexes themselves, but on top of that, these two moving averages act as dynamic support or dynamic resistance. Look how Amazon, during its bull run, look at this 20. Look how well it held it. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, pretty much every way on the way up, it held it. It even held it on that big sell day. It actually bounced straight back up and tried to hold. Then it becomes dynamic resistance. So we get dynamic resistance, and then it gets even close to it. The 50 holds it down, and this becomes a bit of a fortress that's hard to get through for the bulls. We almost got the cross now as well. I'd expect the cross to happen if we get a new low. So you'll have a 2050 cross just as the price action gets under this zone if it's about to occur. It's all about those synergies between the indicators. Siddharth Murli says, market stop caring about jobless claims. Monthly report will say we're at full employment or something absurd. That is true. Over only 30K over, not too bad for unemployment. That's true, absolutely, Giggles. But the thing is, right now, the market's looking for excuses, okay? And then the media writes about those excuses, creates fear, and they create the opportunity. What basically the market's trying to do is trying to force the hand of Congress and trying to force the hand of the Fed to do something pre-election. No physical until post-election, says Tudoric. Why would the Democrats cooperate at this point? It's a good point. The worse the markets look when the people vote, the more Trump will get the blame, and the economy is the top issue. It's a very good point. Not bad. I like that. I hope you're a subscriber as well. Siddharth, it's amazing me that Aussies, how much the US writes off unemployment numbers. Yeah, absolutely. It is pretty amazing. So yeah, for Amazon, we're really looking at the 2900 support. We can see why it's so good. We need a body close underneath that, and then that signifies quite a lot of selling. In fact, if it's still hovering around here, what are we going to have? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. All of a sudden, you're talking about a pretty damn big move that could happen if we have that move. Look at this. Could become a very serious move, head and shoulders, and that will push it all the way back down. I think it would stop here, though, at market structure. At 2,500, we'd have a 200 simple, all of those types of things. Now, it's not a head and shoulders right now because it has no defined right shoulder. It just has one time up. If it has a little bit of a defined think about it, it'll become a head and shoulders. That's what I always think about in the market, though. I think, what could this become? I note it down, I jot it down in notes, set an alert, usually put it in the alert notes, and then go from there. All right, heaps of questions coming in here. I will try to answer a few of them. Nice time to get out the popcorn, says Jack Mellon. Absolutely. The coffee, the popcorn, everything. Who's that? Love your streams. I appreciate them. Thank you very much. Let's load up that S&P again. 3217 now. So that's a little bit of a catalyst move down. Let's load up the Nasdaq as well. Take a look at the Dow a little bit later as well. So Nasdaq still holding just above the previous wick lows. I think it could be a brutal sell-off into the 10.4 if it happens very quick. Once the Nasdaq starts moving, we know the selling pressure from Wall Street, the algorithms, everything else starts triggering. And that's the one thing about this market. This market has never been as fast as it is now. It's so fast. Dessert says 495 watching, only 73 likes. Smash the like button. Appreciate that, mate. If you do smash the like button, I do appreciate that. Or subscribe. Today ain't a day when major sell-offs will happen. It's a correction. It has to halt after running down so fast. This is from USDX. I think that you can still get a new low. The reason why USDX is you already had a bit of a halt. So effectively, we had our market structure here. We then sold off, found the bounce, trapped a whole bunch of people, and now we just go to the continuation of the low. Then you would expect market structure to come back in, and then of course, if we're going to have another leg, a leg to the downside. Similar to even over here, we had that kind of market structure forming over here. Let's take a look at another crash period or a period that actually dumped, and notice that the market will usually move super aggressively. It'll start kind of chopping in a zone, and then it'll move aggressively down again. If you actually look at the S&P during this time, we can load that up. It's a much better pattern. I still think the S&P is the best place to get your sentiment from, and then trade whatever you want against the sentiment. So here's the S&P at the same period. Notice the very clear support. S&P always gives you the best technical. The best technical. It's the one that you should watch. And of course, usually pay more attention to SPX than US 500 futures. Don't do too much analysis on your futures. We're just doing this because we need the live markets. 32.13 now moving in. So support was broken here. That's the candle confirmation close. Bang, straight off. But yeah, that's that beautiful kind of period. And that's usually when you get that increased volatility, really good day trading, especially when you start to get patterns. So right now, we are possibly going to come into the market at a 3,200 handle. Can we look at the DAX 30? We'll definitely have a look if we can. Oh, there's a good question up here. Looking at the futures, the most significant and widest support level is the 3,200 level. So let's see if it closes there. Absolutely. The 3,200, key psychological hundreds in the S&P are the key. And I always like the 200 point variance range. So 3,200, 3,000, 2,800. You seem to see more structure through that. Look at this 2,800 level. Previous SUPs acted almost as resistance. Of course, it bounced straight through and then supped again off that zone. Tom, can you cover the correlation with gold and US dollar? Also, the misconception that gold doesn't follow the market. Yeah, basically, so right now, of course, what you're seeing is if you have dollar strength, you're going to have gold weakness against the US dollar. It makes sense, yeah? If you're talking about the misconception of, let me just have a quick look here. Gold doesn't follow the market. So gold generally won't follow the market. Usually it should be doing its own thing. However, right now, because of the Fed, because of fiscal policy, all of those types of things, really the Fed is doing things to the US dollar. If we're seeing US dollar strength, it's just going to weaken. Not always does the US dollar go up heavily though when markets are falling off. We need to remember that as well. I will do a whole video on it at some point. For sure, Shane. We'll probably do a special on it when we don't have as much volatility coming in. Kraz Canuck said, been watching your videos for about 3 months now. Keep up. Oh, where are we? Keep up the good work. I gave you a hard time for low volume on your videos once. Haha, now it's good. Well, no, it's good. Constructive criticism is always worth it, man. It's just people that, just abuse you. I usually delete them. But that's only because it's just no point. If you are long, should we sell everything and wait? No, I don't think so. I think you just pick and hold your quality and go away from that point. Shane says, Tom Coffee Fund, $10 Australian. Thank you very much, Shane. Man, you've been buying me coffees every stream, I tell you what. Thank you very much. Can we look at VXAPL? You know, I think that'd be kind of cool. So this is the VIX to Apple, is that correct? It's a very cool chart. It's not one I often look at. Thank you very much again, Shane. Do appreciate that, buddy. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's a cool zone, isn't it? Just in terms of previous resistance becoming support around a 50. I like that. And of course, now we're getting VIX Apple actually increasing. Let's have a look at the 1 hour here. Okay. So it really went crazy over here and then now it's bouncing. I guess obviously if it gets to this 56, that's pretty key kind of break for it. I don't know how it correlates though. To be honest, I haven't really looked at it that much. That's a cool idea. I'll write it down and I'll have a look with some other tools after stream and see if it's worthwhile bringing into my own analysis. This is the thing I always say to everybody. Like, I've been trading now for 12 years, and you can always learn something new. And if you're constantly learning and constantly paying attention to everybody, never get too arrogant, the market will slaughter you for it, then effectively you can always be improving your trading skills. Now, you need to be logical. If it doesn't make sense, don't use it. That's why I hate some indicators. Some indicators make 0 sense. You just don't use them. Thoughts about Tesla? I have a feeling we're going to get that quite a lot throughout this stream. We'll definitely be looking at Tesla a whole bunch. My thoughts are that because of the aggressive sell action, because of the sentiment in this stock, we're probably going to go down to at least the monthly S1 into the previous market structure over here. Go to the daily and check that out. Oh, a few people activating the Kramer today. Matthew Tanch, $5 adding to the coffee fund. Appreciate it, Matthew. I'll have to buy some more beans for sure. And Tudo Rink, $4.99. Thank you very much for the coffee as well. Appreciate it, guys. Definitely keeps me motivated to do a bit of streaming if I get free coffee as well. So, yeah, basically I'm thinking this monthly S2 around this 50, but I like this previous structure. For anyone that's been following the channel for a while, you know I'm big on market structure. I'm big on the psychology of structure happening again. We actually were live streaming only, a week ago, and we were talking about this level, talking about how it's going to find support there. It had a 50 EMA as well, and it did just bounce straight off that zone. It did it live while we were talking about it as well. But yeah, market structure is the key for me. It's because a lot of trading with technical analysis, if you haven't actually ever looked at the currency markets or commodity markets, you get a lot of TA setups there. So we've got the monthly pivots here for Tesla. I haven't tested them much because I think Tesla is just too aggressive for monthly pivots, but I'm going to put them on to try to find as many reasons as possible. Makes sense though to come back and test the lows now. All right, so just quick look around the markets. Let's go back over to the futures here, refresh those off. Stock scanner overall. VIX is still climbing after that number. And of course, we have gradual declines across all of the indices across the board. Let's take a look at gold now, and then we'll move on to taking a look at a few other things as well. I like this person's name. Warren Buffett comes in. How do you buy coffees, guys? I want to donate some to this honorable gentleman. Well, Warren Buffett, if you can give me one of your, was it Dairy Queens? That'd be very nice. Matthew came in. Can't believe you got my last name right. Extremely rare. That was luck, Matthew. And I already, can I say Tanch or Tunch? Tanch? Warren Buffett username has to donate me $500, and then we'll put it into a charity donation. Sounds good, Warren? $500 that everyone gets to decide on a charity for it to go to. All right, so let's have a look now around the markets. We'll get rid of a few of these tabs. We don't need these anymore. Obviously, a whole bunch of bearish stuff coming into some of these websites. Now, MarketWatch is always historically a little bit more bearish in terms of the things it posts. But yeah, overall, there is bearish media coming through. One of the things I always like to do is go to the FinViz news page if I'm not using my own stuff. And effectively, I will go and have a quick look at the scan. And then I also just go to like Bloomberg and just have a look at the top headings. Now, I just do this just to get a bit of an idea of what the current information is coming out here. If everyone is super bearish on something, then often you want to be kind of bullish. It's that opposite effect. Unfortunately, that's the way the market is. Whatever they write here, whenever they say things like, oh, concerns of second wave or whatever else, it's just crap. Like, overall, it means nothing. VIX still climbing, 30.4. All right, let's go to gold. Copper has, copper's cracking through here, guys. 2.92. Copper moving lower. Let's have a look at the 4-hour close. Ooh, it's a bit nasty. See if that 4-hour closes down there. Will be interesting. All right, loading up gold. So gold is on new lows now. We obviously cracked through that initial blow off. Gold has moved very aggressively down. Let's just have a quick look at what the prediction is here for it. So effectively, once it got through that 1920 support and closed the daily, it was pretty much doomed, at least down to the 1864. I mentioned that quite a few times. Right now, there is no structure for gold. So I could see gold continuously falling and basically doing the standard move down, where it moves down, up, down, in line with US dollar strength. Because we're going to have US dollar strength potentially for a little while here. What will probably happen is gold will weaken. It will then consolidate around this previous period of the 1750, 1800 zone, and it will do it at the same time that the dollar index hits key points. So the dollar index might be hitting 95 or 96, and then gold will be at these lows. Does it mean gold's doomed long term? No. It just means that it's going to have that breather, and often it does this. I think it's very normal. Few people having fun at this Warren Buffett thing. Very good. Would you mind checking out Volkswagen? They just released a Tesla car. Did they? Do we have faith in Volkswagen's Tesla car? Penny stock madness is coming back when the market's dumped. Well, I'll let everyone know that while you might have people that make a lot of money out of penny stocks, just remember, you will always find that penny stocks burn you over the long term. And my favorite penny stocks have always been healthcare penny stocks. Look at those SEC filings, find out when they're about to release, good news or bad news. The good thing with healthcare stocks is if they release decent news, they go 100%, maybe 300%. They go wild. You can lose it all, but also you can do quite well. But yeah, that's how it really much works with those ones. I expect some form of retracement on gold, sure, but I don't expect it to rally hard off this point. Not when dollar index is so strong off that point. Basically, what you would expect is dollar index might come back to the 20 or back to the 93.80, find support, probably bounce back up, and at the same point, gold will just be retracing back, and then of course, another potential short off. I'd be looking at dollar index a lot if you're trading currencies and commodities. Focusing on this chart, focusing on what it's doing, and then going to your cross pairs and checking them out. So let's go around to the markets here. Also have a look at SPX, even though I know it's not open right now. This particular chart, it just shows you how clean the real market is. So this is the real market, none of the futures crap, none of the noise. Look how the market acts when you get the real market on. And that's why you should always have the real market, not the futures. Nice support. It was 3,000, nice support. We had mostly body closes all around there. We also had that 3,200 zone. If you actually look 3,200 here on the weekly, nice closes all around that area. That's why we're thinking it could be support zone. And overall, the structure recently was actually clear on the SPX. We had body closes, came back up, tapped it, and then sold off aggressively. So I like the SPX. I always recommend that you use that for your closes because the closes will always be the key. Now looking at a 32.15 coming into the pre-market, 10.51. So we've got about 40 minutes to go until the market opens. I have to go to the questions here. Got a whole bunch of questions coming in. We'll load up Zoom just to see the madness in the background. Whew. Whoever got into that short? Who got in the short? Someone got into the short yesterday, so they could be looking at some decent positions. This stock's crazy. Yeah, I just mean basically pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. Yeah, that is right. When I was talking about penny stocks before. Where are all the gold bugs gone? Yeah, about a month ago, everybody was talking about gold and silver. Specifically silver, but as I said, silver, you get beaten up. You get massive beaten up when it goes bad. All right, going through a few other questions here that we've got coming in. Oh, I don't know. Cancer cure. That's pretty wild, Village. If there's a stock that has that, might have time. We'll see. I need to look at Volkswagen. I did say we would, and the DAX as well. I said I would. Yes. Are you anticipating a red October? Statistically, you actually have a red October lead in. September's actually slightly positive on election years, usually a negative month. And October is actually historically, statistically, a negative month leading into election. November's not that strong either. But I think that good point before from that gentleman talking about how Congress, especially Democrats, don't really want to do a deal for their own sick reasons, I guess, in terms of getting elected. That's with politics. We're not going to get into politics though. But speaking of politics, we will have a massive stream coming out on the US election day. I'll be doing about 12 hours going through financial markets. It's always a fun day, so definitely consider checking out the markets that day. Trump's election was wild. I remember it very well. So many greedy pigs on Zoom. Yeah, so if we have a look at this stock, very far away from the 20 on the daily, that's always super concerning. This is clearly overbought. You put any indicator on this, it'll all be overbought. We all know how to spot a blow-off by now. Effectively, we would have already thought it was in blow-off phase, but it made that new high. Big move up. We should be seeing big move down. Effectively, you would want to see in a week around 15 to 20% down. If it does that, it's all over for Zoom and back into consolidation central for quite a while. Sweetings, and it says, do not buy Nikola. Well, yeah, Nikola is a penny stock in my opinion. It's very difficult to buy, and obviously it's got all sorts of news. You probably just see it burn off for quite a while now. Just continuously decline, go up, decline, go up, decline. It'll have trade on it, but it won't be a good thing to be in. Liam says, silver back at 22 US dollar. Buy the dip, or is it still a falling knife? It's a falling knife for now, but silver 22 is still a good deal. You'd have to think it's not bad long term, but there's just nothing here. You know, when you're talking about price action, the good thing about trading with technical analysis is markets come back to structure points. They come back to psychological points. If you're sitting here and just thinking, oh, fundamentally, you know, silver's worth $50 at 26, well, you might be correct fundamentally long term, but that being said, when it breaks through, being good at TA means that you can find the better zone, find the better place to put your money. All right, so let's have a look at this Volkswagen. Zoom's really tough. It's not, if you're in it, you follow it by a moving average. That's all I have to say. And realistically, you know, you can use extensions also, Fibonacci extensions to find out, or put monthly pivots on it, see if it's hitting a monthly R3. If it's hitting a monthly R3, that's often the way that you can look at it. So stock code for Volkswagen. Is this actually the stock code? I haven't traded Volkswagen before myself. I've owned it, but not traded it. I assume this is the one. Now we'll use this. Looks about right. I remember the Scandal. Scandal was a good buy on this one. Like back, when was it? Over here. All right, so Volkswagen overall, what are we seeing? Let's have a look at the daily. Well, we'll do full month down analysis. So it's obviously been in some superior, crazy kind of things. We had that, is this the emission scandal? Can't remember. I think it was. Similar to the seatbelt scandal with Toyota, they had crazy move. But overall, we have crazy support at the 100 psychological. You can just see it there. That's the power of psychological numbers. For no reason whatsoever, it bounced twice off 100. Right now, monthly is sitting at kind of the highs. We had rejections. Nobody closed above all these moving averages, the 50 and the 20. Let's go down to the weekly, have a look there, see what's going on. So the weekly is looking not that great for it. We would have hoped that when it broke through up here, it would have came down and found support here. So you're really looking at the weekly close. I think this is a very important close for this market. If we close bullish on this one and it closes above all these moving averages, I would then put a ticker just above that wick, so above the high, and then want it to shoot through the next week, and then we should have a target for 160. So I'll draw what I mean by that. Let's say we do have a rejection up and it kind of creates a bullish hammer and there's a little bit of a wick. You don't just buy it on the Monday, you buy it when the price goes through the high. That shows momentum in the direction. So that's one thing I'd be looking at. I don't like where it is right now. That's not ideal. So that's the weekly kind of concept here. Oh, we need to go to daily. Daily overall, nothing bullish looking here. You'd just be looking at basically fundamentals. You do have a lot of structure through this zone. Previous lows 133. Again, there's no strong, compelling evidence for a high technical statistical trade at that point. And then on the 4 hour, you effectively have what could be setting up as a 1 hour double bottom. Why do I say that? Well, the 4 hour looked like it could be a double bottom. I think the clearer pattern is on the 1 hour. And you can see low, followed by equal low, followed by the high. That's the way I do that analysis. So there's a mini trade in here, which is not bad on the 1 hour, but I prefer 4 hour and above for stocks. Hopefully that makes some sense. Johnny Bravo says 700 people in the stream. Good work, my friend. Thank you very much, Johnny. Thank you very much for everyone that's out there. All right, let's load up some more markets. We'll load up our switch market as well, moving into half an hour before open. So very, very close now to open. Let's load up both of them together. If you're not using TradingView and you're doing a bit of TA, I definitely think TradingView is not bad at all. It's quite good. Just remember 4 hour data is different from different brokers. So 4 hour data, 1 hour daily, usually very, very similar. Dailies may close within a few hours of each other, but nothing really trades during that period of time. But yeah, worthwhile considering TradingView. I'm not affiliated with them or get paid by them or anything, but it's not bad. I think that's not bad. So we're sitting here 32.17, slight recovery in the futures on the US 500. And of course, Nasdaq right on these lows, testing the lows in. It's going to be a very, very interesting first hour of trade. Oh, no, I was having a small snack. Sunrun. I don't know that stock. Explosive and immune. It's probably on a massive bender. VIX still moving higher, it looks like. Let's see this refresh. Oh no, just slightly down. 30.2. So VIX still moving relatively bullish. Obviously a break of 31.1 into the market will be very, very strong. Just quickly talk about pre-market moves. We've got here in the big kind of mega caps, most of the movement still on Tesla. We're looking at a 366.50 open. Logitech down as well, 3%, down to 70.78. Another one that's done very, very massive. Zoom now down 2.7% to 487. And Nike coming off a little bit of the heater from yesterday, down 1.9. Apple, slight recovery, 1.57. Oh no, it just bounced up 1.66 down pre-market. Do I execute brokers on TradingView? No. What broker do you use? I use a bunch of different brokers. I don't just have one. Obviously with currency, we do have an affiliation with Pepperstone, so we certainly do use Pepperstone for currency trades. And stocks, we use a mixture of different private liquidities and big private sector stuff. Quickly look at the CBOE and they'll dump this off. And this is the S&P 500 put call ratio from yesterday. Just a reminder, 1.55, relatively low. Expected this to be as high as the previous day. So we actually had a lot of people buying potentially calls yesterday into the sell-off. It's important that that number does not stay too high if we want more bearish action on the markets. We want more people buying calls than puts. We don't want protection too much. But it was at 1.9 plus. Get rid of that as well. Okay, so Volkswagen we had a look at. We'll look now at the DAX. We'll look at the German 30 quickly. Always good to look around the world. If you're not looking at every market, I definitely think it's worthwhile considering other markets. So with the DAX, we'll just go here to the weekly. I have a fair idea where it is. Basically hit the weekly 20. It's had a big run on it. The DAX has been incredibly strong actually for a European index. And realistically, it's at a point of nowhere zone. We saw on that 4 hour, 1 hour that it could bounce up here and come through. And if it closes above the 12,800, then of course, that's technically a little double bottom. But the problem with that would be it goes straight into two moving averages that I believe are quite key resistances. So I think the DAX has got a lot of problems in its way. Break low, instantly opens up 12,250. So break low here, 12,250. Expect that to kind of happen very similar to when the Nasdaq hits its lows as well. Usually most of these markets are all synergized together. Do I trade crypto? Yeah, I've begun trading quite a lot of crypto. Look, I was in crypto a little bit when it was going crazy back in 18. That was more, I treated it like a pure penny stock, basically considered the money gone. I think the crypto I was in actually at the time is worth nothing now, or very little. But I'm obviously certainly not in that anymore. So BTC, I think trades very, very bullishly off the 10K. We talked about this a lot of times on the channel. Talked about how it's holding this 10K. So many buy spikes off the 10K level. A huge amount of buying momentum there. If we do get back down to the 10K, I'd expect buying momentum there based on previous kind of times. It's also holding a lot better than gold. It's holding a lot better than gold. So there's clearly a lot of bullish sentiment in the cryptos against stock market sell-offs. Yeah, we certainly did cover Tesla. We will be covering it again. Thanks very much for those subscriptions coming in. Appreciate that. Yeah, we'll have to see whether there's a further shorting there, use and vision. Absolutely. All right, let's go through a couple of other markets, I guess. I'll just have a look at this pre-market. Tesla's actually down even more now. 363 now down. Bring this over just to show everybody. Pre-market looking pretty deadly for obviously Tesla. Zoom now down 3.3. And overall, just the ones that were getting sold off are still getting sold off. Chewy is down. What do you think about that Chewy buy into GameSpot? My God. Anyone bullish GameSpot here? Maybe bullish GameSpot into PS5 and Xbox, whatever it is. The unpronounceable Xbox. I don't even remember what GameSpot's code is. Is it like split like that? Let me have a look up GameSpot's code. GME. Wow. You serious? $10 again. Oh, jeez. I might have to do some more analysis on this one a little bit later. Not to buy, believe me. Wow, I'm surprised it's that high. People this bullish off it. It'd be interesting to see whether they like the... that is a terrifying stock to me, this one. Definitely do not like it. So we're 25 minutes off the open here. I made a pile and short GME months ago. Yeah, it's been a pretty good short stock. There's certain industries I believe have no future, and this is certainly one of them. Look at that. Look at that 12 area. Previous resistances all the way across here. A lot of market structure. Previous supports becoming resistance, and then again 12 could become resistance. It almost hit it there, over there as well. I think it probably buys into the announcement and then after that finds weakness. Haven't bought a physical game in 10 years. Well, I mean, you've got so many consoles coming out as well that aren't physical. Speaking of game companies, let's go and have a quick look at my favorite, old Activision Blizzard. Still kind of holding, doing nothing. Really doing nothing at all. No surprises. Obviously a new COD, new bunch of games coming out, a few delayed games. Overall, I think the games industry will do all right, but I think there is problems there as well. I'm still probably more bullish on like CRM softwares and those kind of things. Huge amount of companies moving into that stuff long term. Kim Lim, one of your favorites, Disney is approaching the 120. Ooh. Yeah, I did see that, Kim. Absolutely. We'll load that up. Just give me 1 sec, everyone. Just give me 1 second. All right. Let's load up Disney here. Yeah, Disney coming right into that 120. Let's have a look at this on the daily. So Kim is correct. I do like Disney at these 120 levels. And I like it because of previous market structure. I say structure quite a lot. And I do that because these are very, very key zones. Let's just load up that 120. Think about the psychological level of 120. Previous resistance acting as support. We go to the weekly, we might even have some moving averages around there. It really shouldn't probably hold a 120. It should bounce off that. But this 122, it's already found like where you would usually be dipping in. Overall though, I still like that 120. Weekly resistance all the way across the board. It would have held here if we went in a crisis. This zone should have held during this period. TA wise, it should have held. What I will say though about TA, here's a bit of a secret top tip, is when you see something coming in super aggressive like this, even though you've got what I call the 1, 2, 3, which is basically 3 touches to a zone, which therefore becomes an instant buy if it comes back down. If the aggressive move is so fast, you have to wait for price momentum. You must wait for the lightning bolt, which is of course the trough, the peak, the higher trough, and then the higher peak, or the accumulation play where it accumulates there and then breaks high, or of course you just don't get in because it comes straight through and closes low. As soon as it did that, it's no longer a buy. You have to stay away from it. And of course the crisis would have made that pretty easy. But yeah, when it comes down with such velocity, if a currency comes down, silver the other day, if you had a buy price, let's say on $26, and then silver came down with such velocity, you're not going to just buy it without looking for the structure. It's a big mistake that a lot of traders make. Isn't Disney affected by new lockdowns? Absolutely. It is, but Disney, I mean, so many companies are affected by these things. Disney's being hit all over the place. It's cruise lines, it's parks, everything. But long term, I'm pretty bullish on it, so that's why I'm okay. It does, Suj, yeah, absolutely. Our TA stuff online through fxevolution.com does talk a whole bunch about it. It also gives you what we call a pressing system, which you can learn more about how to get into a trade and make statistically relevant decisions constantly. So let's have a look. A few people saying is Disney and other stocks a buy. So we've got 20 minutes here to open. One of the things that you can always do is you want to think about, well, can the company survive the crisis? Number one, I always like to go to sleep at night knowing that the companies that I own, I either have written them off because they're penny stocks, and I've just said that money is basically kind of, I would almost call it gamble money, or I hold stuff in my portfolio that I like and I believe in. Do you believe in the SP500 over the long term and the Nasdaq? Of course you do. It's the top 500 or top 100 companies in their respective fields. So you know that you hold quality. With something like Disney, you want to be looking, of course, what's happening in terms of their insider transactions. That can definitely mean something. Whether we've got upgrades or downgrades across the board. So here in September and August, we had some upgrades from a few different companies. Do we care what they have to say? Not really. We don't care at all. But what we do think is that if we are far away from their upgrades, what are the people going to be doing? Well, we have all the Deutsche people saying to their clients, hey, good time to buy Disney. We've analysts upgraded it to 163. Credit Suisse analyst upgraded. So what I always do is take an average of all of those, bring them together, and use that average as a bit of an extra tool. So I might say, okay, that gives me 10% of my overall plan. I'll use the TA, and I might say, okay, TA is going to give me 50% of my overall plan, and then I'm going to look at the cash flow, and I'm going to look at the fundamentals, and I'm going to look at all those types of things and add the rest of the percentage. And that's your plan, really. You're going to come up with a plan based on that type of stuff. Hopefully that makes some sense. But over here, generally we've got a bit of upgrades. They're just upgrading for the sake of it. But I don't even mind half of these old upgrades where they're just all sitting around 120. Overall, it will probably be a good long-term position. Pierre Larouge says markets going to crash. Fiscal stimulus is nowhere near enough in EU and UK and US. They are not taking it seriously. I think they're certainly taking it seriously, but they've got to be careful not to destroy sovereignty as well at the same time, and not to possibly use every single piece of fiscal stimulus. They already came out of the gates way too hard. And now that they've come out of the gates way too hard, they have to pull back a little bit here. I'm a really big fan of Nvidia, Rockman says. I believe they will come out okay from the crisis. Very unsure about good entry point though, because of how much the stock has gone up. It's difficult. There's also a lot of fever kind of going around for Nvidia in terms of how high it is because of the 3080 and 3090 launches. Like about 12 minutes ago, the 3090 launched. And I can tell you, if I load up one of the Australian websites for this, so here is an Australian website that allows me to purchase Nvidia cards. Let's see if I can get in there. Out of stock already. All gone. It's all gone, guys. Damn, that 13 minutes and I didn't get to buy one. Not that I'd pay that much for a graphics card, but the point is there's a huge amount of people buying these things. Look at this, stock alerts and launch allocations already out, ETA, blah, blah, blah. So these things are getting scalped. I've seen them upwards of 70 or 80K a card. Now, obviously, it's a joke, but people are paying $3,000-$4,000 for a $1,400 Australian card. So if they're buying those, of course, Nvidia can profit off that type of thing. Yep, we'll check out copper in just a minute. So with Nvidia's pricing, it's very, very tough because of the move. Now, if we put it in perspective, let's have a look at this move. It is parabolic. Does it deserve to be partially parabolic? Well, remember, it went parabolic from 15 up and then went parabolic again. Traditionally, Nvidia gets slogged during market corrections. So right now, we've had very hard move up. I like to go on this daily, and I basically just draw a sup straight across this 470 zone, and that is what I'm looking at. I personally couldn't buy it here, but that's just my personal opinion. You can obviously make your own decisions, but I just couldn't do it to myself. Even if I believed it's $1,000 stock in the next couple of years, I find this not a good price for me. Where's market structure on this thing? It reminds me a bit of silver. I mean, obviously there's super structure around this previous 300 zone, but we're sitting at what, 486. That's very, very high. Go to a weekly, there's just no market structure. We're so far away from the 20 still. At least a 20 tap I'd be looking for, 425. Hi Phil, good to have you here. Now, quick tip, if you type in copper and just click it, supposedly it comes up. And there you go. So you don't have to search in TradingView. Copper won't come up when you search copper, but if you just type it in, press enter, it loads. So thank you very much to a viewer for bringing that up. We'll look at the Dow. Extreme says the Dow has crossed 25,000 about 13 times over the last 3 years. Does that confirm a long-term weakness in the index? I think the problem with the Dow is it has some old behemoth companies sitting in there that aren't doing as well as the new blood. That's why I always say SP500 is the new Dow, the most important. Pierre says, I'm shorting Zoom. What do you think? I think it's fine. Depends how you're shorting it. Actually, do you mind sharing with the room how you're shorting it? Might be a good opportunity to talk about short spreads as well. Is Apple too high? I think Apple's actually in pretty good territory. $100 obviously is where we're targeting for Apple. So yeah, copper here definitely showing weaker sentiment than it has been. This is a fairly decent break. Now we saw silver get cracked down to the 22 right now, finding support there. And copper is weakening. Look at this, another little chunk down there. Remember, copper is a good sentiment for whether we're in corrective phase or a crash. and we were talking about being in mostly a corrective phase, but anything under this 2.8, I'm starting to think we're in crash territory. Not there yet, of course. Kim says, as a gamer, do you think high-end cards will be competitive as Nvidia? Unlikely, Kim. So you're talking about AMD. Good stock to have a look at as well. AMD has been another very big favorite. We're coming to the critical point of this previous under around this 50, but it looks like this 74 here. If we get underneath 74 for AMD, I think it could be some severe selling on this stock. Look at that 200 moving average. Where is the previous market structure? Similar to silver, so far away. Could go very hard down to 60. I think that's very good buying territory for AMD. But AMD has cycles. You look at a monthly on this thing. Over time, AMD has crazy moves up and crazy moves down. It's the nature of the stock. Now, of course, these are different times, but I remember this. I know AMD had the winning technology at this point. I don't know what they had over here, but over here, they certainly had, that was just the tech bubble. They had the winning technology. This was back when they had, God, was it Opteron or something? I can't remember exactly, but they definitely had the best tech. Then, of course, Intel came out and flogged them. And they went back to sitting at $2 a share. They've moved up very, very hard. So I think AMD is due for a bit of more of a pullback, possibly even into the 60. I'm certainly setting alerts there. Worthwhile. So let's have a look at the market now. Coming in, we have a 10.6 now on the US 100. 10.697 coming in here. And over on the left-hand side, 32.15. Loading up. Pre-market moves. Tesla now flogged 4.7%. Down to 362. GoDaddy, the provider of websites and terrible ads, 6.19% down. That is the leader of the bigger caps here. Zoom down 3.29. Definitely think it deserves to be. Remember, what did Zoom hit yesterday? Hit the magical 500 number. Magical 500 psychological number. Pretty big. Also, this stock here is crazy. DraftKings. $50 on DraftKings, down 48.60 now. Quite a few stocks that are a little bit terrifying if you're thinking about them from a sentiment perspective. Dane, here's a good question. How do I optimize a small account when I'm just getting started? What particular markets or stocks and platforms? So, Dane, look, it's a good question. You have to make a decision on whether you're in it for the long haul or not. Look, the reality is, can you make $1 million in a year off really small accounts taking crazy risks? Of course you can. Do many people do it? No. Why is that? Because they end up giving it all up. They might make it, then lose it, or they might make 100K, then lose it all because of the mentality they get to get there. The simple answer and the boring answer is that you would want to find quality companies, test your TA, get better at trading, so use small amounts of money, and what you do is you build it over time. I'll probably feature it on the channel. We have a thing we call it the Presic Account Builder. You can go to fxevolution.com and sign up for it for free. It's a thing which we really built around this idea of you start with like a $500 account, yeah? And what you do is you make 5% in that account using the proper methods. Then you pay a certain amount more into the account. You reward the account with your own earnings and profits at the same time to build a $100,000 account. And certainly a very good idea to do it that way. But it's not a very fast race. Slow and steady. Don't care what other people have to say. Most of them probably lying about how much they made anyway. Or they'll say they made $100,000 and then they'll go quiet a few months later. You're probably already finding that on some Tesla holders, unfortunately. Thoughts on Tesla? Yeah, well, look, we'll be covering this quite a lot. We'll just go over it. Market structure at the 340 zone still remains to be where we expect Tesla to probably find some sup. We did have the 50 exponential moving average on the daily holding last time, and these lines here are monthly pivots. So somewhere in that 350 zone to 330 zone, we expect Tesla to find some support. Overall, though, I wouldn't be surprised to see it really get crunched down over time. Jason says, don't invest now. VIX futures, Yvonne. Everything has a futures market nowadays. The futures market is getting extended all the time as well. Yeah, Dane, look, it's a really, really, really hard question to answer. It's a great one, though. I guess one of the reasons I even made a YouTube channel and started talking about it is because I see all the time people making terrible mistakes. I've seen people lose millions of dollars very quickly, too, in nights. Going crazy, losing their mind. It's not good. You'd be surprised, actually. Guess who makes the worst investors? I want the room to answer this to me. Who do you think makes the worst investors that I've seen? You'd be surprised. Maybe. Let's see if anyone gets it. 8 minutes till the open here, everybody. Euro, US dollar, yeah, we'll look at that. Square, another one of the favorite choices of people recently. Square is really got a very key resistance at this 1560 or 160 area, 160 area, massive resistance. Obviously, we've got 137 previous sup. Inside this zone, it's really more of a trade. If it breaks out, though, it's going new highs. I don't think it even cares about the 170 at that point, because notice here it has multiple resistance points at the 160. Multiple resistance points. So I think a break of that signals new highs. I would not even care about that. Purely based on how many times it's already rejected that zone. Fund managers, hedge. I like some of these. These are good comments. SoftBank. Crackheads, gamblers. Well, yeah, look, Wall Street bets. It's actually some funny answers here. In my experience, someone here has it. Where is it? Ben Whaley says doctors. True. Doctors and pilots are crazy. Crazy investors. They'll drop hundreds of thousands of bucks and they'll use mass leverage. Brokers also make bad investments? Absolutely. Benjamin Burke, financial advisors, men. Yeah, unfortunately, all the guys out there, most people I've trained over the years are guys, and we're pretty bad. We all follow the same method. Too much leverage, especially in things like currency. I heard doctors. I'm assuming that Amir could be a doctor. You might be different, Amir. But yeah, doctor, you might have a few of your colleagues. You tell us if you're a doctor. Do you have a few colleagues that get a little bit crazy on the markets? So here we've got the euro US dollar. The thing with currencies is they often act incredibly technically. So currencies are a good place to also hone your technical skills. Highly recommend looking at them. Whether you want to trade them or not, it's up to you, but it's a good place to find heaps of technical analysis that you can constantly do. So what have we got in the dollar index? Well, we have a close underneath the 50 exponential moving average here. We've obviously got the close. We know that this was previous SUP as well. So we had SUP 2 times, which is good. 1, 2. And we have the 50 now acting as dynamic resistance as well. Another thing is we have previous support at the 1.14 area. So another psychological zone area. So what I'd probably expect for the euro is it comes up, tests the 50, lightning bolts down. Ideally, that's a really conservative kind of entry trade. And then you sell it down fairly aggressively before the 114. So I'd draw like a box range and then I'd take it off in that area. From a swing perspective, that's what you're doing. And if you're actually asking a question as well of if you're a full-time kind of, let's say somebody that works and you're full-time and all of those types of things, swing trading is probably the best type of trading. Better than scalping and intraday for the long term. Days to trade, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in currency. Always Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So yeah, box range in here would be the expectation for the euro. And if you look at the weekly, you can see why as well. It might come and hit the 20, but I think it could definitely tap this area. And what I do is I take a fib of the whole thing as well. So we've got 5 minutes coming into the market. Let's have a look around the markets. We'll obviously take a look at our US 500 and Nasdaq. Thank you for everyone that's in here tonight. We've got a big audience. That's really excellent. Traders make the worst investors. Yeah. Absolutely, traders can make very poor investors because we take profit too often. Dr. Horton might have gone quiet. Oh, here we go. Amir says, I don't know any doctors, but I heard it in a podcast. Yeah. Doctors just earn big money. Surgeons in particular, actually. I'm a bit mean to doctors. It's actually surgeons because they just have such a high stress, high environment. They go crazy. Penny stock traders make the worst investors. Probably true as well. Siddharth Muli says, I'm heavy liquid. So he's talking about being liquid in cash. He's waiting for a 38.2 of the previous pull. So he's talking about this whole market pulling back down, and here's the fib of that. So the 38.2, Siddharth is basically looking at a 3,050 zone. Will we get that? Time will tell, of course. We'll go down now 3 minutes into the open. So let's load up these 15-minute charts, and let's see how they all come in. We'll go a quick market check coming in as well, and I'll just load up something else that I wanted to. We'll just quickly get this ready as well. Now, if I load this, I think it'll start playing. Oh, there we go. Got to turn that beast down. All right. No worries. We've got our bell ready to rock and roll. Definitely need to get a mixer for this. Sorry for anyone's ears then that came through. All right. So here we are on the 15 minute. Let's just draw up some lines on the futures and just see what's going on. Right-hand side, we have Nasdaq, and of course left-hand side we have S&P 500. So very similar. I'm not a huge fan of the 15 minute anymore like I used to be because of algorithms and because of fake out analysis that happens so much on these charts. I still think 4 hour is one of the best places to be in stocks. 4 hour daily, weekly, best place to be. In currency you can get down in the 15, but in stocks it can be difficult. All right, so we're basically testing these. We've hit new lows after the unemployment figures. We've got 2 minutes now, and then we're testing previous support zones as resistance coming into the market. People don't like my bell. You don't like the bell, guys. Wild Boy says, just get a real bell and hit yourself. Mate, I don't know if I want to do that, dude. Kramer viewers. Got any Kramer viewers out there? I do love Kramer. He's pretty funny. Okay, so coming into the market, we now have a countdown here of the last minute. Let's talk about pre-markets coming in. So we are looking at pre-market, pretty big sells down in GoDaddy. Tesla down 4.3, 364 handle. Other things to note, Logitech still down around 3. Overall, Apple, where are we? Where are we on Apple? Don't even have it here for some reason. There's a whole bunch of things down more. JD.com coming in as well, and a whole bunch of others. eBay down 1. Apple down 1.72. I always look at Apple as a big sentiment driver in the markets right now. Quickly load that up. You can see here in the pre-market what's going on. All right, 6 seconds till the bell. Let's do it. All right, there we go. Our hideous bell. Boom, we are off. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we've got some market opens here. We'll just quickly load this and bring it down. Oh, lost it. So overall, we pretty much have Tesla opening really where it was meant to be. We've got, of course, a whole bunch of other things moving up and down. Really want to just see what pretty much happens to Apple and a few others. See if Tesla actually holds or sells off. Let's look at the indices. Indices are really the key. Remember, we notice in the first 1 hour of trade, we generally have buying pressure from retail. Everything matters in the last hour. I want to always reiterate that last hour of trade, last couple of hours of trade are usually the key. Even have a look at what happened over the previous days. We saw a little bit of market momentum in the morning and then just started. This one sold off all day, but hugely aggressive near the end of the day. So we are finding some support, some buying pressure coming into the market open here. Tony says, Bell wakes me up. It's getting late. All right, Tony. I think almost you could pretty much be looking whenever we've hit sup or we've hit a level of keen, kind of like a key area in the first half an hour of trade. It's almost been always a good buy, hasn't it? Last couple of weeks. Michael says, how do you set up your moving average lines? So you in TradingView, just go indicators, set up 2 exponential moving average lines, set them to close 20 and 50, and then set up 1 simple moving average line as the 200. You can also add 100 if you want to, but you don't want to add too many moving averages to your charts. A lot of people don't realize with people like Kramer and stuff like that, the problem with these guys is they have to always be talking about something. What else can they do? You know, they have to talk. Every day you've got to come up with something. It's even when I'm making videos for YouTube, I've started to notice this. I have to talk about something every day. Do I think there's always great opportunities? No. But you have to talk about something, don't you? ASX, here's a good one from Jemin. I know we're talking about US market coming in here, but ASX went up crazy on Tuesday to the upside. Yeah, absolutely. So we had, our central bank is considering cutting interest rates again, going down to 0.1%. Can we look at Slack? Yeah, we can certainly look at work. So we'll revisit these. I usually like to look at the markets open for the first 5 to 15 minutes. We'll be checking out every 15-minute close throughout the next hour because the first couple of minutes are always very interesting into the first hour of trade. And then we usually kind of sign off at about an hour into the market open, and then it starts to sell off straight after. So let's load up that work quickly. So Slack has been continuously asked about on this channel, actually. Here's a good question from Heavenwall. Some people pull the fib level for SP500 from the March bottom, and some people pull it from the June low. Can you explain it for the dumb and dumbers? So the June low is definitely a fair pull, and we'll definitely cover that soon. But overall, what I like to do is actually pull both of them. And then if you have any kind of cross correlation between two different pairs, like a 38.2 and a 61.8, if the other one coming in line with each other, that's what I call a double fib crossover, and they're even better points. So Slack is really not performing well. It's a classic case of an IPO coming in hot, then obviously looking good, and then disappointing on the numbers. This is why you really never buy tech IPOs, or if you do, you get in at the IPO level, and then you sell at day one. I actually haven't looked at Snow recently, but that's another classic case of an overhyped thing. So Slack has superior support around this 23 zone with previous accumulation at this level plus lows really in terms of body closes over the March point. I'm still looking at this. I don't mind the idea of Slack, but the problem is it's all about how big's the moat of this company. First couple of years, I have a bit of a rule with tech or any company. I like to see 5 years on the market. Why do I like to see 5 years on the market? It gets at an idea of firstly proving to the market it's a profitable company. And on top of that, you get a lot of those weird accounting errors that kind of come in with IPOs. So right now there's a company in Australia called Aussie Broadband. They're IPOing. Guess what they did? They jacked up my cost per month coming into the IPO. What's that going to look like? Instantaneous higher profits. They might disagree with me, but I kind of feel like that. Tesla now 357, down 6%. So we've got some pretty big moves coming through here. So let's load this chart. Oops. We'll just quickly load up here. We've got 6.6% or 6% down on Tesla. Roku not doing well either. That was actually a stock that was pretty hot the other day. And overall, we've just got pretty much a whole bunch of moves here. We'll still be looking at Apple very soon and checking that out. But Tesla, look, we expect volatility. Go back to the futures, how are we looking there? So the futures now reversed. We don't have that 15-minute close. We only got a 5-minute close, and we've already seen the market go from a 10.7 handle to a 10.8. So that's 100 points, and then reverse it all in the first 5 minutes of trade. Market testing 3,200. Yeah, we certainly want to be watching that. Who's that says volume is high. Which one, mate? Is it me or is it... Shouldn't be me. Nickel getting smashed again. Nickel is probably dead. Or very close to it. Overall, it's just terrible sentiment on that. So S&P acting a little bit weaker than the Nasdaq today. So obviously we're seeing some buying in the Nasdaq in terms of people just still want to be in these stocks. I don't blame them. I do too. And the S&P, some of the other sectors aren't so hot. So yeah, with work, my real thoughts here is further weakness until it hits that 23 kind of 30 zone. Disney now under 122, looks like a 121.90 area. Up 2,000 on Zoom puts, says Jacob. Well done, Jacob. Actually have a look at the old Buffmaster and see what's going on there. Berkshire B, let's have a look there. Oh, I love this area. $200 on the Buffmaster would be nice, wouldn't it? Previous resistance, double moving averages. Oh yeah, that's a good zone. Let's have a look there at the daily. So the 200 area, we've also got that, obviously it'll be the 200 simple. A couple of activations of the Kramer here. $77 US $5. Apple for the teacher. Thank you very much, $77. Appreciate that. And Matt Gardner, $3 Australian. I assume that goes towards the Addicted Coffee Fund. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. USO, not something I've heard in a while, Greg. USO was all the rage when we had that negative dollar. I remember seeing a whole bunch of vids on it. Yeah, we'll check that out. So that's obviously oil, yeah. Over here, Berkshire though, $200. I'd definitely be setting alerts for that. Overall, we might even draw a fib on this one. Let's go to the weekly quickly. I just love the double moving averages. Let's see if there's a fib around that area as well. Remember, with trading, with technical analysis or anything like that, what you're trying to do is find a key point with as much possible support or resistance that are unique than others. Now, if you're using lots of indicators, a lot of indicators show you very similar signals. And they'll actually show you very similar signals to price action as well every time at the same point. Like a 2050 cross will almost always happen at the break of a double top or a double bottom. Right around that break, you'll see a 20 and a 50 exponential moving average cross. So they're actually showing you a very similar kind of signal. Yeah, so here we've got the 38.2 of this move, the last move here, and we're in that 38.250 fib area for Berkshire. I think this is going to be pretty good. A few people said, oh, it's because Buffett owns so much Apple. Yeah, that would be effectively affecting it, but overall, he owns a lot more than just Apple in his company. So certainly a good zone, and I am pretty bullish on this company long term. Obviously, it does have some key event risk with if something happens to Buffett and he dies, but overall I think that's not, it's already been considered a little bit. It's kind of like when Steve Jobs died. Load up this screener a little bit soon and we'll check that out. Let's have a look back at the market, see how these markets are moving. So we've now almost got new lows on the US 500 coming in. Wow, almost new lows here, 32.12. I learned not to listen to people on USO. This is actually just a good question anyway. In at 18, got out at 19 because everyone told me it was risky and stupid. So there was a lot of contango in oil back then as well. Definitely read up on contango. There were risks for sure. And also there's a lot of hold costs in that particular thing in USO. So always be careful about the hold costs in some of these funds. It's like trading the VIX. It's pretty crazy. So we've got here almost 3,200. A few people are calling 3,200 breaching. We're breaching into the 32s. Can we get a 31 handle? I'll have to activate the plan very soon. Oh, another activation of the Kramer. Thanks very much, Merds. First day finding your channel. Best analysis I've found. Fellow Aussie too. Appreciate it, Merds. Let's hope you are not in Victoria. Thank you very much for the coffee, mate. It'll go towards a good cause, don't worry. So one thing we will be doing is we will activate investment from the ads made on the YouTube getting to 20K. So I'll be revealing how much we made and then I'll be investing that money. And as I said, we'll donate some of the profits over time to charities that everyone in the community decides. Basically, the idea is to show you how to build an account from what effectively could be considered like a wage, a small amount of wage savings. You don't earn that much on YouTube. You'd be surprised. Tom, the US 500 is off by 10 points versus the SPX. Yeah, probably would be because there must be some divs. Do we get the 3200 on the SPX? Well, we can watch the SPX anyway. I prefer watching the SPX. So we've got US 100 futures over here and obviously the SPX over here. Thank you very much again, Merds, for the $5. Do appreciate that. Let's have a look at some other stocks going around. Just a quick update on things that are moving hard in the market so far. On the positive side, AMD is actually almost at 76. Some other big movements overall. Apple now. Is Apple actually green? Apple's green, up 0.22. So that's been bought up. Probably why the Nasdaq's holding, actually. Let's have a look at negatives. Biggest negative in the big caps is Tesla, followed by things like DraftKings, which is now up there as well. Roku, Etsy, bunch of companies I don't particularly trade in, but I think Tesla always provides a great sentiment trade. I actually think Tesla might be one of the easiest trades long, especially when sentiment's on it. When there's a hype or there's an event that you know is coming in the future, there seems to be always a very good trading opportunity on Tesla. So a little bit of a pull up here in the S&P 500, 3216. Obviously, Nasdaq continuing up, back testing the highs. A lot of activity for the first 15 minutes as normal. Aaron West says, I hope Tesla falls to a penny so I can buy back the 1200 accidental exercise that cost me most of my account. I'm not long NDX call spreads, hoping this market reverses today or tomorrow. Oh, I'm long, sorry. Oh, I hope you get it right, man. Yeah, Elon Musk certainly does have a lot of plans, but at the same point, at least he's pulling innovation, isn't he? He's trying to pull innovation. That's good. BA, thanks. He says, keep this up. Once you get enough subs, old videos make you money for life. It'd be true if I made generalized content, but because I make market news content, they're not really going to get anything. You have to make unique content that's going to last for years. Nvidia and Adobe still look strong, incredibly strong, both of them. Thoughts on Google? Good question. We'll definitely load up Google. Let's have a look at the VIX. Coming in, obviously Berkshire still looking at that $200 flat kind of zone. Whenever I say 200 as well, what you want to do is you want to look at really just above 200. Remember, load up your volume, load up your market screeners. We'll do a full lesson during a less volatile time and all these types of things. Share with you some of the things that I've picked up over the years. Let's load up Alphabet and we will have a look. Okay, so Alphabet's coming straight into the 50 exponential moving average. It's sitting right around that 1400 as well, which is pretty good kind of buying. We've talked about market structure and where it previously was. Again, similar to Disney, if the market was trading normally and this wasn't a crash period, we would have had resistances across this 1300 zone acting as support. You can already see during the crash, it did try to buy off that zone a few times. So I think that if we have further sell-off, there'll be a very big fortress wall at the 1350, 1300 zone for Alphabet. But it's already at pretty key kind of level. It's at a good zone. I think that cash flow though, and well, they're not going to go bankrupt obviously, but overall, Google is still got problems with, of course, advertising revenues, and they haven't done enough in a few years. But if we look at what the general expectation is for Apple, it's pretty bullish. Alphabet. Let's have a look at Alphabet's upgrades or downgrades overall. Oh, one sec. So overall, we've got a bunch of reiterated kind of upgrades over here. Again, we don't use these that much. We want to see if there's insider transactions. There hasn't been any negative ones, not like Nvidia, which has a massive amount of negative transactions going on. And look, it looks like pretty much they've got mostly $1,600, $1,700 targets on it. So it's trading at a decent discount to what everyone else is going to be saying is a buy. They're going to go to their clients and say, we've got it at $1,700, as we explained before. Cash flow is good. Let's hope they make investments. Overall, not an insanely priced share. Not insanely priced anyway. Quick check around the markets. We've got silver, gold, VIX, of course. Really some of the standouts. US dollar still incredibly strong. Really the story of the week. US dollar bulling 94.60. Still continuing potentially to the 95. May find resistance 95 and then onwards to the 96 would make sense to the pattern. Might have a look at that. Let's go back over to the market, see where the SPX is going. Pavel has activated the Kramer with RUB 100. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Pavel. Appreciate that. XOM, yep, we should look at USO and, of course, XOM. Nasdaq now coming in, testing maybe the highs of the Asian session after the sell-off. So we'll definitely check that out. 11:47, so we're 17 minutes into trading session and we've already found some bullish pressure. Remember, for people that have not traded the markets for a long time, the first hour of trade is often the kind of retail crowd. You know, we're all sitting here anticipating the day, excited about it, then we get bored a few hours in and then maybe come back at the close. It's the last couple of hours of trade that matter the most in terms of sentiment, and they're the ones that really dictate what the market's going to do. So we have found bullish pressure off the lows here on the daily. And obviously if that was the close, it looked like a little bullish hammer. Not enough yet though. Thanks very much again, Pavel. Appreciate that. Looks like the market wants to fill the gap. Which gap are you talking about there, mate? All right, let's load up a few of these things that we said we would look at. We'll just quickly load up dollar index. Again, 93.80, key resistance break. Upwards of the 95 is what we're thinking, which if we look at a daily will make some sense. Previous kind of sup over here. And then of course the 96 is the key point that it could get to. There's a lot of accumulation down here. So we just took the accumulation distance and extrapolated that out. And we got a 95.50 kind of take. But I think 96 is certainly possible as well. So dollar index strength kind of may be the story coming into the US election. All right, let's load up USO quickly. These kind of funds I actually find terrifying, and this is mainly the reason why. Check this out. Check this out. Look at this fund. I mean, it's terrible. Basically, they start them high, and then they always bust over time due to contango. During big crash offs, they never can recover. So anyone that thinks that USO can recover back to previous highs, it can never do so. They've already switched the contracts, switched the forward contracts, all those kind of things. It's a common misconception. So when you're trading futures contracts of like a coffee bean or oil or anything like that, be incredibly careful. You can get absolutely smoked by not understanding what you're trading underneath. Also be careful with gold funds. Some of them are not actually holding proper gold. They're holding gold futures and they're holding a whole bunch of stuff that can stuff you over. So make sure you understand the instrument before you put your hard-earned bucks on it. Something like this, I wouldn't trade it this way. I know that Americans, you can answer this, I may not know exactly, may not be able to, you can't trade CFDs because it was banned, I believe, or at least you can't trade leveraged CFDs like we can in Australia. So if you're looking at this, what I would do is I'd less trade this and I'd more trade, go to oil, go to the charts, check it out. Buzzblads, thank you, Tom. Got to run, no worries, mate. Do I think the DX Siddharth says, do I think the DXY will retest before hitting the height of the next channel? Yes. And maybe not retest the lows, but it will pull back into the 20, at least on the 4 hour. Has to. So it has to have a pullback after the aggressive move. Is this a bull trap? A little bit hard to tell whether it's a bull trap yet on the markets. There are a few other things that we had as well. XOM. So That is, of course, Exxon. Interesting. No one's actually called Exxon for a while. We looked at this on the Monday stream, but no one's been interested in this pair. So I am interested in this pair because there's too much volume here. I know there's a whole bunch of volume indicators behind. Basically, we've got here getting down to the $30. I'm interested at $30 bucks. The 31, the 30.50. I am interested in Exxon. Overall, it should be a decent kind of pickup. It's certainly getting to a reduced price. Now, the days of oil possibly are beyond us in terms of oversupply now and under demand, maybe moving forward, and with, of course, electric cars, all this type of stuff. But that doesn't mean that there's no value here at these lows. While it's here, it's probably going to continue to slump, though. I would not be surprised at all if this just continues to slump into the lows of March. Siddharth says, geez, DXY super euphoric retest already. 30 sup? Yep, me too. Yeah, absolutely. You might as well use it. I mean, again, do you really care if you miss out on ExxonMobil? I wouldn't. There's other opportunities. Is there an Aussie equivalent of USO? Yes, there is, Kim. It's called OOO. Another lesson in contango. Beta shares oil contract. Look at that. Beaten up. Look where it starts. The contango over the years destroys it during the sell-offs, and it never recovers. Where's that thing trading? Like $4 or something? $4.20? Terrible. Let's go back over to the markets now. Look at the broader markets. Then we'll have a look at some of the ones that have picked up. So we're trading at the 20 right now. Really kind of the Asian session highs in the first half an hour of trade in the US session. 10,850, and of course testing the previous lows here in the 15 minutes. So the S&P's really been a lot weaker than overall the, of course, US 100. So we're back at previous lows before the pickup. Let's see if the S&P turns here. Remember, the S&P often drives the sentiment more than the Nasdaq. BA says, here's a cup of coffee, US dollars, $4. Thank you very much. That will certainly buy us a coffee in Australia. Since US dollars are going up, I'm getting richer as well. Thank you, BA. Appreciate that, mate. Tesla bouncing off 350 hard, Strawberry Fields Forever says. Yep, that would make sense. So it hit the bottom of that kind of range we were talking about before. It actually hit 350 exactly. Tesla is sentiment driven, everyone. Sentiment. And mostly traded by retail traders. Think of how a retail trader thinks. Think of how all of us think. We like round numbers. We like certain things. Like you would never go, we also like to pick it up just before. Look how Tesla stops at 500 and sells off. Look at how Tesla, before that point, kind of hit the, where's the 300? Around here, hit the 300. Yes, it bounced through and went nuts. But overall, it's because it was before the split. Now we're in split sentiment. I can't even remember what that was. It might have been $1,500 or something. I'd have to times it. Not going to do that math here. Thank you very much again, BA. So Tesla came off the 350 and bounced up. We are finding some bullish sentiment there. Not a bad price. I always think of it as Tesla and Apple are trading like retail sentiment style. We like the rounds, and that's what happens. When a client calls me, you know what they say? I say, oh, let's buy this share at $22. They say, oh, I want 20. Or I want to buy it. Or I might say, okay, $20.30. And they'll say, oh, I'll buy it. I want it at 20. And I said, no, $20.30. And they're like, no, 20. They will not take the $20.30. They want the $20. And you'll notice it in the lines. The depth is just crazy at $20. You buy it at $20.01, you'll get in. You'll get filled. The person at 20 won't get filled. You might think you got the price. You wouldn't have got the price. Why is the market going up? First hour of trade, a lot of retail sentiment going into it as well. Thanks very much for everyone being here. Looks like we've got some amazing numbers again for this stream, so I really appreciate everyone coming out. Obviously, we do Monday streams every single week, and we usually do another day. It's been coming a bit of Thursday action. Thursday, often a bit of news, a bit of interest in the market. Remember, keep those questions coming. We'll answer as many as we can throughout the session as well. Repsol, according to Alberto, oil company already reached March low. Justin, you must have got beaten up a little bit by OOO, unfortunately, mate. Yes, Actually, I know a few people that got beaten up by that. I was actually talking to the fund manager about it. I know what they did during the contango, and believe me, you'd be horrified. Credit Suisse sold the contract on the worst day. They sold it on that day where basically oil went negative and then switched it over. Terrible move. Literally 2 days later, an extra 15% on that contract. 15% on the contract 2 days later. God damn. Reke says, thanks, Tom. Love the insight as always. Thank you, Reke. Seen you in here quite a few times. By the way, Justin, I saw your comment, so I'm going to answer it. In terms of what you should do in these situations, and I did forget to put it in the back of the video, is you need to have, of course, a plan for these situations and plan your attack on pullbacks. So if you're thinking, let's say, a 3,200 is the low for the market. Again, do we really target 3,200? You target a slightly higher level, create a range, buy that range. It's not going to make the difference 0.2%, 0.3% over your longer term investment goals. So you basically find an area, you plan that zone, and then you leave money on the table for your next area. So you might be basically saying here, okay, I want the 3,200 zone and I want around that 3,000 zone. So you might target those areas, set alerts just above those ranges, and then potentially buy in just if you're there at the time. You don't necessarily have to scalpel-like entry every single trade. Something I realized over time, I used to go for the perfect price. Now I just go for around the route, the right price. Justin says, horrified and not surprised. Yeah, it sounds like you were in that 000, unfortunately. Oops, I keep getting these ranges up here. So quick check around the markets now that we've had the first almost half an hour of trading. So still really the leaders of the badness have been Roku now. Tesla is now only 3% down. Previously was 6% plus. Twitter is trading down 3. What other notables? Western Digital down 2.5. Haven't traded that in a very long time. Any other things here? Not really. I think overall that's probably the bigger moves. Zoom is still down 2.5, was down about 3 and a bit. AstraZeneca down 2.3 now. And a therapeuticals company, Horizon, is down 4.5. That's actually leading the down day. In terms of positives, Discovery, AMD now up 1.87. So overall, and Square up 1.5. So overall, there's nothing up too much. Apple's still positive. It's now up almost 1% at 108. So Apple's sentiment's super strong. There's a huge amount of retail. That tells me that the people that are buying Apple right now and the people that are selling it are two different people. So the people that have been buying Apple are the retail market. The people that are selling Apple are often the bigger traders because they're selling it in the end of the day. Very interesting. Apple has always been bullish in the morning. Every single morning we've done these live trades. Goatsy says, notice how it's exactly 6 months from the March 23rd lows. Absolutely. By the way, is that chat thing even readable? The little chat box that's meant to come up on the screen? Doesn't even look like it's readable. I'll fix that for next time. Anyone able to read your own chat on there? Looks like it's coming up, but it's quite difficult to read. Donnie says, I've heard a lot of people wanting to pick up XOM at 30. Wouldn't pick it up. Wouldn't it pick up more like 31 because of this? Yeah. Don't target the exact range. Target an area around there. Class action lawsuit announced against Kodak, says Harley Trades, for insider trading. There you go. Here we go. Pab, a story that is worthwhile listening from. Missed perfect $1 price on Zip, lol. Yep, unfortunately that does happen. You probably went for like $1 and it probably went, what, 102 or something. 105. Excellent. I'm glad that's working. Now, always in the mood to improve the stream. I want to get a whole bunch of programs. Remember, if you want to share with the trading community some of the things that you're looking at or things that you check out on a daily basis, that's free. let me know. Hit me up at support@fxevolution.com and check that out. Because I'd like to improve the stream and just offer as many things as possible that are free. I can't use some of the paid stuff. It just won't let me do it. Also, a quick reminder, if you want a free cheat sheet, you can go to fxevolution.com/trading cheat sheet and grab that out as well. Let me just refresh this quickly. Okay, there's nothing there. What's the bull run on the Nasdaq all about? Well, we basically hit equal lows. So when you hit equal lows, there is support here technically. We didn't make a new low. We just hit an equal low. So there is support and there is going to be buying pressure. We've talked about how the first hour of trade is wacky. Got a lot of wacky stuff going on here. Buffett's trimming Apple. Is that true, Shane? Pretty decent little 4-hour close there coming into the 12 o'clock. Let's have a look at the 1 hour here on the Nasdaq. So we have a fairly strong candle here coming in. Obviously the range almost hit the 3200, bounced up a little bit with the S&P. Go to the heat map, refresh that off. This will be a little bit delayed. So overall, we've pretty much got the FANG stocks mostly controlling the market. Nvidia are up still 1.74. Go to the live charts here. Yeah, it's mostly driven by, obviously, a little bit of a pickup in Apple and some of the big companies. Square, etc. Give me a few things to analyze. I'll definitely check them out. Okay, Kim, I'll have a look. So Kim wants to have a look at realestate.com.au, which is a Australian company. Obviously, what do they have? They are the biggest and best, let's call it, real estate provider online. So this company is pretty wild. It has very low volumes, but they charge crazy prices. So when we're talking about this one, I still kind of aiming at that psychological 100 zone. I know it's trading at 110, but I'll aim at the 100 zone because we had a massive bull run up over the March period into August. You've got pretty low volumes due to, of course, Melbourne being in lockdown as well, which does mean less profits for this company. And even though stock is holding, and overall, I'm pretty bullish on the house sector in Australia. I think that our government is going to just continue pushing it. So we're only at a 23.6 pullback. I want to see at least a 38.2, which will bring it right around that 100 zone. So yeah, for REA, that's what I'm thinking. I want to see a fib back here, previous support, previous resistance, 100 psych. That's the kind of thing I'll be looking at. These are also fairly bearish candles. We've got a test of a high, wick rejection, test of a high, shooting star, test of a high, bigger shooting star, pin bars, whatever you want to call them. And then that, of course, has come down to the 236. But I'd want to have 100 buck, 38.2, based on fundamentals as well. $77, US $4 for another coffee. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. I'll be having these coffees over the next couple of days. Might go get my usual 5 or 6 tomorrow. Luckily for me, I live in a place where I can just go pick it up around the corner. So thank you very much. Been getting into a bit of drip as well for any American listeners out there. I've been getting into some Primo drip. Quite enjoy it. It's not bad. I always used to think I wouldn't like it, but it's not bad. I usually drink espresso. So yeah, Powell testifying. That's what I thought. Oh, why do I not have the stream for him? Anyone got the stream? Share it in chat, please. Can I confirm that Nasdaq's hitting a resistance? Well, it's hitting a 50 moving average. I think there is previous sup here, so yeah, it should be technically the point of resistance. What you're talking about is previous support twice here, and a 50. So yes, you are confirmed correct. It should technically find resistance here. Again, we're on the smaller time frame. We do prefer to look at 4 hours, but yes, you are correct. This is technical resistance. Previous sup, resistance, 50 exponential. We'll also have a look at a fib of the move down and see whether it's coming back to like a 38.2. It's always important as well. So that's a very clean kind of sell-off. So you can draw a clean fib through there. We're in between the 38.2 and the 50 fib, which is always nice at the right area. I'm sure you're going to have a bunch of indicators as well. You'll notice I don't load up stochastic or RSI or MACD too much. I will bring a lot more volume analysis in soon when volume kind of becomes more normal into the analysis. And of course, we'll also be looking at market orders and depth in the system as well. So I've got some big plans for bringing, I guess, the TA all together to really show you how I do everything. Robert says, is it okay to enter positions in AMD, Nvidia, and Apple? You can obviously make your own decisions there, man. I can't tell you what to do. They're all great companies. They all, obviously AMD and Nvidia are both pretty hyped right now. Apple is probably at pretty fair value. But you have to make your own research on that one. CME Group is connected to blockchain. So CME is an interesting one because isn't it still suffering a little bit on the share valuation? So CME here, it's right on that SUP, isn't it? Yeah, 162. So this is actually an interesting one because you'd think with so much interest in trading that CME Group would be doing really well. But overall, trade volume is actually a little bit down for these guys compared to others. If you actually look at some of their reports, it's not as good as you think. So it's right on SUP. If you're a CME holder, you need this to hold and you need it to hold right now. Do not want it under 162. Mike Robinson says, hi Australia. Hey mate, how you going? A couple of watermelons. What about my shrimps for the barbie, man? Kevin says, Tom, now that you mentioned depth of the market, what are your thoughts on institutional trading strategies that a lot of people are marketing? Isn't that just like a bit of a buzzword? Do they really know what institutional trading is? What they're really doing? Some people would be surprised how little institutions really think about some of their positionings. But yeah, I think it's more of a buzz term, really. I wouldn't really, I think the thing is that if they don't allow reviews, you know, one of the things that we always do is try to add reviews or something like that, then it's going to be very, very difficult for you to pick whether they're any good or not. All right, so there are a few people coming in wanting to know about AT&T. We'll load that up. So that's right on SUP. I did check this one a little bit earlier. So if we have a look at the monthly, you'll notice that pretty much telcos have been getting smashed. Overall, AT&T has been an incredibly poor performer in the US. It has had some rises where it's gone up very heavily in kind of bullish end cycle, and then it's just fell back off. You need AT&T to hold here, and it certainly has not been a good performer. Overall, it's very tough to buy. I would probably be looking for structure around this 27.50, 28. I would pretty much want AT&T to do this and then break up high. I need to see accumulation. If you don't see accumulation, or at least a trough, peak, high trough, you could be stuck in this share for so long. It can just sit there, do nothing for ages, similar to what Intel's doing, and you don't want to be in that. Ideally, if you're trading, you don't really want to be holding the position forever, and that's what can happen here. So yes, it's at support. Yes, it's the third touch, which is usually going to be okay. I'd want to see market structure, lightning bolt, something like that. I need to see more here from AT&T. But it is certainly at support. Let's go back over to the markets. Someone said something dirty happened. What was this? Institutional trading strategies rely on client flow. Yeah, that's certainly part of it. T could drop through. Yeah, it could certainly drop. A risk management. Risk management is really important when it comes to trading, of course. You'll hear most big investors, you want to talk about institutional investors, what do you think all they care about is preserving money. So risk is number one factor to them. That is their number one goal. Make money while reducing risk. If you could reduce risk, then you're doing everything. It's kind of like that old napkin kind of saying. If you draw like a few circles, so let's say I draw all these circles here, and I say, okay, what is the biggest circle and what is the most important one? So where do you think your trading strategy is? Well, your trading strategy is actually just here. Your trading strategy is here, and your psychology is the big one. You know, the psychology is everything. You are your own worst enemy when it comes to trading. I'm sure we've all had nights where we've lost control, we've made mistakes, and leverage is also a big one. But your trading strategy is only part of it. Your risk management is very important, and then of course your psychology is the key. So we're finding some resistance here at the 50. It was a good spot by whoever was, I didn't see whoever did post that, but yeah, the 50 exponential and these 2 points it's a good area. It's obviously more of a, is it a super high statistical area? It's okay. I like super high statistical areas, and they don't happen that often, but obviously you don't need that many great trades. But yeah, it's not bad. Doubles up into the 50. It's a tool. I would not use it then. You find that they're not as good as you think. By the way, anyone that's been here since the start of this stream, did you enjoy that new intro? Thought it was pretty nice. Made that one up. I got massively content striked on the last one for putting in music. Tesla recovered almost. Yeah, so quick look around the markets. We'll talk further about what's going on. So overall, Twitter's now one of the ones that's doing the worst. Tesla's traded heavily up, which does make sense in this current phase. Obviously, it hit that super low. Bit of market sentiment momentum up. Remember, Tesla can turn just as fast as well. But yeah, 350 just bounced straight off it. Let's have a look at it on the charts. I'll load up that one. Still want to be sitting around after the first hour. Usually around 12:30 my time, we start to see a bit of selling pressure come back into the market. Like clockwork almost every single day. Let's see if it happens again. Tesla now trading at 376, so only 0.77 down, 6% switch. Certainly is the trader's stock, this one. Always trade it based on sentiment and round numbers. Sentiment and round numbers. Let's draw every 50 here on Tesla. There we go. There's about the 400 just above. So where's our 400? There's the 400. And then we hit the 350. Obviously, you're better off being bullish on your moves. Overall, you will be more correct on Tesla than bearish. So there's pretty much every 50 here in the last couple of moves. So we had the 450 high, a little bit higher than 450, and it sold off there. But I don't think you would have been sad at all to take your profit at 450. And we had the almost 400 touch. Didn't quite get there. And then this time we hit the 350 exactly. Even if you bought this at 350, yes, you have to have a stop. But overall, not too bad. Siddharth says, Shane, to think I held Tesla at 459 for less than 1 minute. I'd be crying at this level. Yeah, you've got to be quick, got to be fast. Definitely one of the better trading stocks, though. I think Apple is also becoming a pretty good trading stock, though because it's so huge, generally speaking, it's not as good. I like Tesla a bit more in terms of just basic sentiment strength. Let's look around the markets here. So overall, still mostly kind of a sea of low reds. Not a huge amount of volume probably coming through the markets maybe as well. Technology, IBM definitely still a company that I think is going to be very, very difficult to ever come back. IBM trading at 117 now. I remember when it was 200 plus. Even Buffett gave up on that one. I'm sure he's not regretting getting rid of that. Such a huge company. Very, very hard for them to really kind of turn it around, it seems. Go back over to the market, see if we're still testing that 50. We are. So the 50 exponential on the 1 hour. And of course, then we've also got the 10, 9, 20. Go down to the 1 hour here on S&P 500. And realistically, we're seeing quite a lot of bullish pressure still coming in. Go down to 15 minutes, which is really where we should be checking. We'll jump 15 minutes on this as well. Any other charts people want to look at? NEM, PAS, AMAT also doing well. Sun W volume, $77. So you like this Sun W one, do you? Let's have a look at this thing. Thanks very much again for the coffees as well. Appreciate that. We're actually going to load this screen. Might close a few of these now. Pavel, good question. Rube 100 here. Why are wedge patterns absent from the cheat sheet? So wedge patterns are good patterns, but you have to correctly analyze them. One thing that I always say you'll notice I don't bring it up too much. Why is that? I can draw a lot of wedges. I can draw a lot of wedges and I can draw them everywhere. So one thing I find is better to teach is horizontal sup-res and try to get away from wedge patterning and trend lines too much. When you do that, you don't have as much subjectivity to your trading analysis, and therefore you don't make as many mistakes. The idea is that you are consistent throughout years, not just months. You want to be consistent throughout years. So wedge patterns, I've specifically left off on that one. You can use them, but just get better at correctly analyzing them. Even things like flags, they're quite difficult to possibly spot in the market correctly. And that's why I'm a big fan when you first start, horizontal sup, horizontal resistance, and try to find key structure points. Learn structure. So this Sun W, we'll definitely check out. Yeah, we looked at Disney before. So this stock is just vertical, is that correct? Wow, look at it go. That's a weekly there. Let's have a look at the daily. 565%. All right. What did it come off? A base of 84 cents. Wow. That thing's going to end poorly for somebody that probably buys it. It's actually done it before as well. Had a massive spike on it, followed by a huge decline. All right. Well, yeah, these are the kind of things that can happen if you pick one right. The only problem is, where do you get into it? This is more of a gamble, I think, than probably a well-created investment right now, but well done if you're on this one. Sun W going nuts right now. Big volume coming in, almost bigger than the day before already, it looks like. Walmart chart. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's check out that. So we have looked at... let's quickly look at Disney first, and then we'll look at Walmart, because I did say I'll do this one. All right, so with Disney, we'll still quickly look at it. Disney bouncing straight off the 121, finding sup there. We've talked about this 120 chart is really, really, really good. And this level, 120, basically find resistance twice, 3 times, will act as support. Very, very good. I like the zone quite a lot. Excuse me, I'm just messaging somebody. All right, so Walmart had that very big move up and then followed by a decline after the big move. Let's have a look at this on a weekly, just put in perspective how well this is done over time. Still far away from the 20 moving average. We've got market structure here at the 132 on the weekly. So for me, I'd probably be still looking at that structure. I want to see, this is basically channeling on the smaller time frame. I'd like it to come down to the 133 zone, find sup here. Not find sup here, find sup here. It hit this first one. I think it could get down here though. But overall, this is a very aggressive chart. It's more of a one that I would, trade very seldomly within a zone. And then I would basically, do I like this as an investment right here? Oh, I find it pretty difficult considering Walmart. I think there's better ones out there, but it is defensive, which is nice. So you check out McDonald's. That reminds me, I wanted to look at McDonald's again. This has been a bit of a favorite of mine for the last couple of weeks. We had a shooting star rejection here at the high. So it actually cracked a new high, failed to close, which for me was pretty bearish. So overall, we hit that 220, sold off. I'm actually looking for McDonald's to come back down to the 200 zone, hit the 20 where previous resistance and support should hit together. Pretty bullish on McDonald's in high unemployment environments, mostly because it was one of the only stocks that held up during the GFC. It was the only stock that was positive during the global financial crisis. And that's because high unemployment tends to do very well for these, I guess you could almost call them obesity index kind of shares or stocks. Might be a bit mean, but it is true. So McDonald's is one of those ones that I actually expect to see a little bit of weakness on this stock. See if it does come through. Aaron Tan says, buy puts on Nikola now. Nikola down 13.71%. Obviously broke straight through the key $30 zone here and just is on its way back down to Deathland. Yeah, this stock, definitely a stock of the year to show why you do not get involved in the hype, or if you do get involved in the hype, you have a plan and you close it up. Tesla is obviously very different compared to that. Dr. Horton says Macca's. Yep, that's what we call it over here, Mackie D's. Everyone in Australia loves McDonald's for some reason. Putting fries and cheeseburgers and stuff. But yeah, we call it Macca's in Australia. I don't think Americans do that. Silver, hammer candle forming. All right, let's have a look at silver. It's definitely interesting. We're approaching now the 12:30. We've got 9 minutes till that point, so we definitely want to do that. Silver is up 40 cents off the lows. It got as low. Oh, actually, it got a little bit lower than we thought. So it got down to 21.75. Thought it actually got down to 22. So I missed that one. But look, this is just a general bounce up. We've got to remember we still have a 20 moving average very far away from price. I wouldn't be too bullish on that kind of thing yet. I'd still think it hits the 4-hour 20, finds some resistance. It might meet it at 23 as well, where the 20 will come down. Remember, the 20 is based on the last 20 days or 24-hour candles in this case, and then it will hit that level, and usually it'll all sync together, hopefully with the psychological zone, previous sup over here as well. Might go to 23. It's time will tell. All about the dollar index there, and DXY finding some weakness, 94.50 right now. Thanks very much for subscribing there, Fredis Sudis. How are we going actually on the subscribers? Just a quick reminder, we are doing a draw now that we hit 20K. So we're at 20,113. On Monday, we'll be drawing to a lucky subscriber $520 to go towards your trading account. All you have to do is subscribe, and if you want to follow us on one of the socials, you can do that as well. So appreciate so many subscribers coming in. Thank you very much. Should have another video out tomorrow as well, talking about whatever does happen at the close. We'll definitely check that out. Thanks, Vince. Appreciate it. That true, like a pricker. There are more cancer cells in Macca's cheeseburger than 1 liter of alcohol. Isn't it just the pickle that makes it not a dessert? All right, back over in the markets. What are we seeing? Have we got the Nasdaq closing above that point or finding resistance? So very nice call before the 50 exponential moving average and of course the double sup. Let's see if that was all she wrote for these indices. Who said that, by the way? I like it. Good work. Why would you buy puts on a stock that is down 30% already? No thanks. Yeah, the put will be so expensive. So with options, you know, let's just talk about options quickly. How many options traders have we got out there? Many of you guys trade options? Many people out there trade options? Got to get the $1 hamburger. I remember when you could make like this burger at McDonald's for like $2 in Australia, and you'd basically be making a cheeseburger for like for $1.50 off just by cutting the cheese out the pickle or something. Selling starting like clockwork. It's almost like we thought that it might come in around that the end of the hour. Let's see if it does further sell off. Yeah, I haven't worked at McDonald's actually, but I haven't worked in any of those places. But yeah, I worked at like someone out there in Australia will know. I used to work at Bilo. That might show some of my age. Bilo was when I was young, teenager. Bilo's a dump. No options, yes, all the time. Okay, cool. So with options, it's definitely one of my loves is the option. So basically, you know, a lot of people, when they consider options and they first come in, they obviously think, oh, I'm just going to buy a put, okay? The problem with that is, though, you're buying the put to zero. So what you can also do is put spreads on. Now, I'm sure many people are familiar with spreads and what they are and how they work, but obviously you're selling away some of the downside. So you might sell a put underneath and you're basically calling it a bear put spread. The idea, though, is that you don't necessarily even want to do it at where current price is. So let's say you're seeing a low break and you got your technical confirmation break and you have channel market structure up here. Would I actually sell a put right here or even sell a spread right here? No, I'd sell a spread near the end of the channel. Why do you do it there? Because less people think about this point and you get out of the money cheaper price. you get a huge amount of extra premium selling a spread down here. You might get like a 5-to-1. If the trade was going to work out anyway, if you traditionally bought a put here, then you're not going to make that much. You might only make 1-to-1 here. If you put a spread down here for the timing that you expect on the channel, and you can work the timing out by looking at the way it moved up and the way it moved down, the way it moved up, taking all of those and then dividing them by the numbers. And we'll talk about that more in the future. Basically, you then have the opportunity to make like a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 trade. And when it comes into this zone, you can make the decision to close it off and close both legs. And you often will get like, let's say you're getting like a 5-to-1. When it gets down there, you might get at least a 3-to-1, close it off. You get more profit and you'll be getting a cheaper kind of entry when it comes to the Greeks. A few people get out there. The Zoomer call. I like that. Zoomers and boomers. I must admit, I barely understand it. So as far as I understand, okay Zoomer is someone that's like young and 25 maybe. Yeah, it would go all over your head. But basically what you want to do, I can't explain it very quickly because, it depends on where your options understanding is. But effectively, most people with options look at current price or around current price. What you want to be doing is looking out of the money. But the exact same trading strategy, you just look out of the money. Consider that next time you're thinking of something. Look at ZM. All right, Vitalik, we will look, but yeah, you don't need to spam it, yeah? We try to get around to as much as we can. We'll only look because we basically have been looking at it anyway. And I'm interested to see whether it's sold off or it's going super aggressive. Okay, it's down 4.75. Good. Deserves to be. So next stop, let's see if it gets down to this 20 moving average here on the 4-hour. Previous resistance 460. I wouldn't be surprised to see a pretty big blow off on this. I don't actually know why it got so much interest. Does anyone know why this is so popular all of a sudden? It must be retail crowd moving in on it. Well done to whoever shorted this. Obviously, that's a nice rejection off the overextension above 500. There's certainly an overextension going on there. When you're talking about finding where a market usually goes to, and you won't find it off this, using fib extensions is often a good way. We saw that with Apple. Fib extensions were showing each take profit zone. This stock won't do it because it was too deep, but often on a bigger stock, it will act very, very, very fundamentally. Back over to the markets like clockwork. We're coming in the last 2 minutes of trade here, and basically we're selling off. Nice call again. I'll just keep calling out. That was a nice point, the 50 and the double sup. Yeah. So the thing is, though, when you're talking about Unis Vision, the thing is, though, what you'll understand is when you're using TA and you've got a high quality structure, you'll make some pretty good cash using that kind of strat. Trade the ASX, can't short with my platform. Yeah, there are quite a lot of platforms that people can't short on around the world. They've kind of removed the ability for people to short, which sucks. Brian, that was you. Very good. Nice. Jacob says he's got a Zoom 400 out and SQ 140 put. Nice. Robin Hood stealing from the poor to give to the rich. Ruckman says, got into Zoom day after earnings, just like a beginner I am. Got out last second and made $10. Won't do that again. Yeah, trading news can often be very, very harsh both ways. We saw that, or rumors into news. Think about the price action coming into that event. So we're seeing this sell-off come in now. We're obviously now almost flat for the day in terms of futures trade into the market. We're down actually on the S&P now, 32.33. This is like clockwork, guys. This is the exact same crap that we've seen every single time we've been doing these sessions. It's almost hilarious. I'm sure like JP and Goldman and all these other guys just laughing. It's actually been the easiest year of their lives to trade, purely from the perspective of that they take advantage of basic investor psychology because they've got so many of them. It'd be really brutal if they actually had bought the market up and then they actually crash it again because they didn't actually even believe in the fundamentals either way. Imagine if they bought all this up and they actually sold it back down the lows or even lower. That'd be brutal. I'm sure they're making money doing that. But realistically, no one wants the market under this point. I know we all think we want it, but the big problem with that is under 3,000, we're starting to really affect people's retirement savings. We're starting to affect the economy overall. And it's actually a pretty annoying time. A lot of trading opportunity, but yeah, look, I personally don't want it down there. Under 3K, maybe 2,800 I can handle, but anything less than that would not be cool for me either. Jerome talked and opened his mouth and ruined everything. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually institutional holdings Zoom up over 75. That's correct, Su Longfu. Yep, absolutely. It is definitely institutions that are buying it. That being said, doesn't mean that I think the moat or anything that spectacular about it. And when you get bullish aggression moves that hard, if they're still holding, that's fine, but it's still going to have fluctuation. And at some point, they're going to say, well, I'm going to take some profit here. So we're coming back down to previous market resistance that could act as sup here. We've got two moving averages on the 15-minute on the NAS. Really, I think it comes to the SP500 that's probably more important. Always is the more important chart. So hit the 20, almost just tapped it, and now we're finding sell off. Let's see what happens in the next half an hour. Can we get a new low in the next half an hour? Traditionally, we've seen the first kind of 45 to 50 minutes be strong, then the weakness to come in around 12:30 into 1 my time, and which is the first hour to hour and a half, and then new lows to be formed after that. Shane says they never get one of my dollars. I haven't sold a stock for a loss since 2009. So either you've got a lot of paper losses in there, Shane, that you're not selling, or you've done very well picking. Siddharth says, oh wait, not Siddharth. Shorting, Jonathan says, shorting Nasdaq now, third run to break through new sup. Yeah, so usually if it does fail like this fast and come back down, it often does mean break. We talked about the break the other day. Where is it? We talked about the fourth touch. That's a good point for channels. So we need an hour chart here. Let's have a look at this. So basically, when a market does this and it comes down, it tests the zone. The futures show this clearer. Tests the zone again, moves up, fails to go back to the resistance, kind of goes halfway or even less, and then sells back through. As soon as it comes down, tests this zone, there's a super high chance it's going to dump. And the reason it does that is because the price action wasn't strong enough from the buyers to push it back. Remember, over here, it was strong enough. Over here, it was too weak. The buying momentum was crappy. Didn't even get past the previous high over here. So with market structure, whenever you're looking at channels or you're looking at that type of thing, we always want to be thinking, what's the market psychology and structure telling us? Thanks very much for subscribing there, Vijay. Appreciate it. What do I think of GM Motors? I don't know. The whole industry is tough for me. I'm just not buying it. Probably missing opportunities, but sometimes I just feel strong about that and I just don't want it. That's my own opinion. It's not TA wise. I mean, he could still trade it, but I don't like it. Strawberry Fields forever. Good thought process here. Keep overhearing Zoom being bought in by ultra high net wealth clients these few weeks. Can you believe it? Especially after Li Ka-shing owning its its story broken Asia media play. Yeah, I probably agree with that. Even I saw the article on that one. So yeah, there certainly was a whole bunch of mass hysteria kind of around that Zoom. Thanks very much for everyone coming out as well and watching this stream. Obviously, the hype kind of is going a little bit away, but we are seeing this sell-off pressure. And the key here is, do we see the follow through in the next 24 minutes? I want to see if we see that follow through. Hopefully we do. Thanks very much, David. Appreciate that. Another thing with the Fed balance sheets, obviously been increasing the last couple of months. So this is off the Federal Reserve monetary policy. Been having a look at a few trades. So let's have a look here at institutional loans. Here's another thing as well. Institutional loans on Google is 80%. So it is not unknown for some of these companies to be heavily institutionally purchased. Here's the institutional on Zoom supposedly being 55. Institutional insider transactions negative 68%. Wonder when they were selling. Options exercise, that's not very much. Oh yeah, a few dollars. I'd be pretty happy with myself. Oh, Marlene Pullum says, thank you very much. Australian $10. Thank you very much, Marlene. We'll put it towards the mini coffee funds and my strong addiction there. Appreciate your support and obviously appreciate you coming out to each one of these live trading sessions. So it's trading quite a bit over even the expectations now as well. But overall, that's a decent amount of insider transactions negative. There's not much buying going on there. And institutional loan, this would be behind, but it's only 55.8. GM invested in Nikola. There you go, Jack. That's a good question. What do we think of GM when they invested in Nikola? Not much, hey? They're not doing too good. Around what time do you start to see the market move back up in the afternoon at FX Evolution from KD? So we've traditionally been saying selling in the afternoon, KD, but yeah, just the first hour of trade has often come with selling pressure after the first hour. I wouldn't be surprised to see new lows today. We may not. Maybe there's no catalyst, but obviously we have technically coming out. Shouldn't we have had already Minushkin? And I should have had that ready for everybody. But this should have been going on right now as well. And that's usually never good. When Fed Chair Powell testifies, that's never a good thing. Let's refresh this heat sheet here a little bit, heat map, see what's going on. So obviously a few people were mentioning before, Nvidia, AMD still doing quite well. Intel still slothing around. Look at price action on Intel, trap it up, and then set long-term kind of alerts for that one. I still think it could be a sleeper while everyone hates on it, but it may take a while to get out. Where's that Adobe? Adobe's doing pretty well as well. Cisco, another one that got beaten down quite a lot. Could be some opportunity there. I think cybersecurity is going to become a massive thing over the next decade, if it hasn't already been that. Hey mate, you said 10.3, 10.4 might be a decent down target on Nasdaq. Does it still hold? I would say when SPX goes to like 3100-ish, Nasdaq would go there. Would like to know your opinion. Yeah, you'd be probably right. Usually they synergize together. So we were thinking S&P to 3200 and Nasdaq to 10.3, 10.4, the previous market structure. Problem is that at this point where the S&P's been weaker than we thought it would be, we thought the Nasdaq would be actually the weaker one. Overall, we might be seeing 3100 now, or 3000. So 3100 is right where the daily 200 simple moving average is. There's not much market structure around here, just the daily 200, and obviously the fib coming into it overall. The market structure is very clear for the Nasdaq. Let's just go to the daily here and show everybody again. Basically, this is the structure that we've got around that zone. Close below, which is actually pretty bearish. That's why I think we should still continue to see weakness. 10.4, kind of the target of this market structure. If you take the range between the support and the resistance, it's the good thing about doing indice analysis, and we've got previous lows around that point, so it should act as sup. If we get down there, we'll basically have the 20 and the 50 touching each other as well. So importantly, both 20 and 50 on the daily S&P and on the daily Nasdaq will be touching each other. Remember, we don't really want to see cross belows that could signal further weakness in the market. Hi Tom, what platform do you use for trading? So in Australia, we use Iris Trader, which is pretty crappy, but we do use it. And we use a bunch of internal liquidity for stocks, so a bunch of like private liquidity and private kind of firms. And then in currency, we trade with Pepperstone. Jack just said real estate. What do you mean about that one, man? Buy the dip, sell the rip. That's the markets, M, says Jacob. Yep, it's a pretty common saying. Hey, mate. That was another question. Called the bull trap, Jacob said. GM desperate to catch up with Tesla. They certainly seem like it, don't they? They certainly seem like it. So let's go down the 15 minutes again here and have a look. I'll just give a quick update to some of the moving stocks of the day. Right now we have on the negative side, pretty much Zoom is leading now, down 5.75%. It's trading now at 471. Still could be room to go into that 20 moving average. Roku also doing bad, 4.24 down. Twitter, 4.52 down. Overall, that's not too positive. And in terms of Tesla, it looks like it's moved to doing pretty well. Nike also coming off 2%. Considering Tesla was leading the day in terms of negatives. Positives, Apple's still up 1.2, probably the notable here. Shane says, thanks Tom, night all for the Aussies. Have a look at SSM. All right, man, we'll have a quick look at that. And thank you very much for the support as always, Shane. You're a bit of a trooper holding until 12:42, man. You've been usually holding up pretty well. It's good. Service stream. Okay. Is this the one? Yeah, it's on the ASX. Okay, so it's found nice sup here. Obviously, there's previous resistance, support, bounced decently high on the weekly. Let's have a look. It's a good structure around here. I like the structure. Pull back into the 195. Obviously, it's not worth a huge amount, this share. But yeah, 195 looks good. Pull back in, and then possibly back up to this 220 range. It's a good amount of accumulation here, though, and big volume obviously coming off. I'm assuming there's some kind of announcement here as well. But yeah, usually announcements come with hype, come back down to earth, go into the market structure, and then hopefully they bounce up again. Not bad. Nice. GE. All right. Why are we looking at GE, though, Osni? General Electric is a terrifying thing to be in. I feel bad for this one. This is people that held this. So have a quick look and just think about what could have been if you held this thing over time. You're basically getting GE now at what, 1992 prices or the global financial crisis. This stock is unlikely to recover. It's like GameSpot long term. It's one of those stocks that's just, it's kind of doomed. Anyway, it's right on SUP. If you want to know my thoughts, right on SUP. You never, ever, ever buy this kind of thing here. You wait for it to show you the signal. And what I mean by that is you have to have this particular position to get probably above 8 and to show you momentum in the right direction. Buying right on the SUP here. Ugh. I don't know what the chat thinks about this, but does anyone in the chat likes this one? GE is now a Robinhood favorite. I think it's just because, probably the reason why it's so popular. Well, firstly, it's right on the SUP, but also because when you think about it, you're getting it at prices from 1992. Sounds pretty cool, yeah? I don't like that, though. This is not for me. Again, this is your hard-earned money. You got to think about, remember what I say, most guys, when they have big money, all they care about is risk. How much, if I can make 10% and my risk is negligible, that's a tick. In fact, they'll take that over earning 20% with a potential drawdown of 30%. If you have a potential, or even a potential drawdown of 20%, they'll always take the lower risk option. That's why bonds are still popular and things like that. That's why Robinhood favorite. Yeah. Slow grind down. Yeah, it's not really the exciting momentum action that we're looking for, is it? That's okay. Look, I appreciate everyone coming out. I think we'll probably wrap it up here. I'm getting a bit of a drop off as well in numbers as people are getting a bit bored of this market right now. Fair enough. Marlene says there's only 12.15 in Adelaide. Absolutely. Well, look, overall, we'll just kind of wrap up some of our general thoughts in the markets right now. We're still very bullish, of course, tech, very bullish software, very bullish those kind of concepts. We kind of almost hit the 3,200, which, I think we got close enough today. But overall, we get lows formed today. Close is going to be important. That's what we're looking for. If we get through this zone, I still think 10.4 is very possible for the Nasdaq. Possibly if we get under 10.4, then we go all the way back down to previous highs. I'd be excited in all of them. We should be seeing a pretty big market. Hopefully we see a bit of a market correction back into the 38.2 to 50 fib of the last move. That would be ideal in a really healthy correction. It's what we want to see. 246 in Auckland. Mr. Maggots. God, New Zealander out there. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty early. Thank you from New York City, says David. Absolutely. No worries, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session. Obviously, we'll leave you with the bit of the new music that we've got from the intro, and hopefully we'll be coming at you with even more cool stuff, I think, next stream. Remember, Monday we'll be doing the draw, $520 just for being a subscriber. We'll draw it live, and then we'll message the lucky subscriber. So if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. Thoughts on copper? I haven't looked at copper price just, for about an hour. Let's have a look where it is. Copper holding the 50. Basically want to see the close on this one. Close low, pretty bearish for copper, back down to 280. Could be a sign of new lows as well in the market with the Nasdaq going through. Right now it's sitting right around the area you'd hope it to be holding. So daily close, very important on copper, worthwhile checking it out. Hopefully you enjoy this song, you enjoy the checkout, and it won't be live stream starting first, but I would like everyone's opinion on whether you like this one. Let's check it out. So everyone, have a good trading session, and we're looking like we're at